2021 was an interesting year for video games. I played something along the lines of 45 unique video games this year, and it was a pretty even mix of games that were quite a bit of fun and games that were unfortunately a little disappointing. I'm not sure if we're still suffering from the effects of the pandemic where some games are having kind of limited development cycles or being rushed out too quickly, but this year more so than usual, I found myself playing some games that I just kind of got frustrated with. That being said, I had quite a hard time narrowing it down to only 10 games that I really wanted to talk about. Normally, when I make these videos, it's usually just a list of maybe 8 or so core games that I do really like, and then the 9 or 10 spot usually are something that I enjoyed, but kind of had to pick just to fill it to make an even 10. This year, I almost felt like I had to cheat to get it down to a nice round 10 games, because there was quite a few that really caught my attention, particularly towards the end of the year. So, as is tradition, rounded up a group of friends, and we're going to talk about the best 10 games that I played, a few of their favorite games, and maybe even a few of our least favorite games, just for fun. To start off here, I'll go ahead and give a quick overview of my 6-point scale that I use when grading these games. 0 on my scale is a game that I would explicitly tell people not to play. I very rarely ever end up using this, but it has to exist for a number of games in particular in the past that were just so bad that I genuinely believe no one could possibly enjoy them. A 1 is a kind of a meh score, a game that I didn't really enjoy but had at least enough interest to try. My issues with the game usually prevent me from kind of completing it or really deciding to dedicate any more time to it. A 2 is an alright game, a game that I play sparingly or finished but maybe didn't enjoy the entire way through. Notable enough that I don't dislike it, although I'm not really strongly compelled to play it again over another game. 3 is a good score. A 3 being a game that held my attention from start to finish. I would consider playing again and or actively, and it might have certain aspects that I do greatly enjoy. A 4 is a flat-out great game, a game I'd recommend to friends, and either played it frequently or felt compelled to fully explore all of the game's content and features. A 5 is an outstanding game, a game that I'd easily sink dozens of hours of time into and has left some type of lasting impact on me. Typically with 5s, they're games that I enjoy so much that I will actively play them instead of trying out new games or going back to other old games. As a reminder, I don't have to have, or rather, the game does not have to have come out this year to be a part of the list. It just has to have been played by me. That way it keeps things a little bit fresh and definitely opens up the list a bit more to variety of games, especially because recently I've been picking up quite a few things that are quite a bit older. And finally, my experience playing the game weighs just as much as the quality of the game itself. This is all subjective. None of this is objective. I don't do game design. I don't know, how to necessarily critique a game, but it's my experience, how I had fun with it, and that's really about it. So now, let's open up the floor, do a little bit of introductions for the people that are coming along this year. First, we have my good buddy Will. You might know him as Gucci Priest, or Waldo, or more recently as San Marzano. Hello, Will. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
How many games do you think you've played this year uniquely?
Unique games I've played this year. I tried writing them down. I got to about 15, but I feel like that might be an underestimate.
Fair enough, fair enough. Next, we have my good buddy Nick. You might know him as Agent Spin. Hello, Nick. Welcome.
Hello, Zach. Glad to be here.
Happy to have you. Is this more of a computer-based gaming year for you, a console-based gaming year, or a mobile-based gaming year?
Ooh, I love that question. It is a whatever I was most motivated to play at the moment type of year. I had a harder time playing at my computer this year, I think, because I was just sitting there all day working from home more often than not, so I decided towards to playing on a console. I think it was a Switch year for me.
There were quite a few games that I think we're going to be talking about on the Switch today. And finally, we have my good buddy Ryan. You might know him as Ryan Hugs. Welcome, Ryan.
Hello. Good to be here.
Ryan is a new addition this year. As I understand it, Ryan, your favorite game is going to be Roblox yet again. Is that correct?
Roblox, 100%. Yeah, yeah, tons of Roblox. But I just want to say I watch more games on YouTube, Let's Plays or that kind of stuff, than I do like play games.
That is absolutely fair, and still interested very much to hear what you have to say about some of the games that we're going to talk about today. I think specifically I told you to maybe watch a game or two for this purpose.
So, yeah.
So thank you for doing that, and thank you all for being here. I think we're just going to jump into the top 10 right away and get going here. So I've presented you guys already with the 10 games, but I haven't told you what order they're going to be in, so hopefully this will be a little bit of a surprise for you as well. But starting it off at number 10, an interesting and late addition to the games that I played this year, one that I was introduced to via YouTube and then watched a friend play, and I was so compelled by it that I decided I needed to set it aside to play for myself. Inscription is a card building or a deck building card game that's almost more roguelike than it is anything else. It has elements of building up your deck, becoming more powerful, and encountering various bosses, progressing across differing challenges such as standard fights, more unique fights where enemies will have certain abilities and things like that. Reminds me quite a bit of Magic the Gathering. There are some things that are taken from that, but also splashes into a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! And kind of Hearthstone as well. It takes a bunch of different ideas from a couple of card games that I played and mashes them all into one unique little package. But beyond that, Inscription has a story to it. On your initial playthrough of the game, you're gonna kind of discover that this adventure that's being set forth is rather unique. When you die in Inscription, you go back to the beginning, but in a way, you're kind of saving your progress because you're taking more information with you as to how to get further, and that helps you not only from like a standpoint of playing the game and learning its mechanics, but also you start to notice that things in your environment are changing. All of this takes place in a cabin with a mysterious figure sitting across from you who well, besides kind of being your captor, doesn't really tell you too much as to what's going on. But as they slowly start to peel back the layers of Inscription's interesting story, you find that there's almost a horror-like element to the game. Something is very definitely wrong. And honestly, this one's kind of hard to talk about just because I don't want to spoil too much, if anything. The game kind of changes drastically as you play through it, but I would not dare spoil that for anyone that's wanting to try. I will say that anyone who likes roguelike games and enjoys card games, you will probably like this. Just be aware that things are going to kind of change a little bit to maybe make you, I don't know. I've had some friends that have like literally dropped this because once one of the big changes happened, they're like, all right, this no longer interests me. I would say stick to it, and you'll very likely be surprised. This game is a 3 out of 5 for me. I don't necessarily have any super big problems with it. It's kind of something I played through, enjoyed, and I don't know. They do have an infinite mode kind of being added. It's in development where instead of having a story-based focus, it more just focuses on the card game itself, and you could just infinitely replay it with extra challenges added. But I don't know. If anything, the game gets almost too easy the more you progress into it because it's trying to move a story forward. It'll help you out probably a little more than you might think. I think certain things start becoming less and less random just to give you an edge, because they're probably worried about people getting stuck in a cycle or a loop from failing too often, and they want you to finish the story. I believe, Nick, you were someone in particular that would very much like this game, and I think it's in your wheelhouse specifically because it is pretty short. Provided you can figure out what's going on and get through a lot of the puzzles, it only takes maybe around 10 hours to get through the entire thing.
Really? I expected longer. You told me there's chapters of the game, and I immediately assumed that was like a sign that it's a long one.
It,
Yeah.
the second and third chapter, as you kind of put it, go quite a bit faster. They're a little more forgiving in terms of your failure criteria. If you get stuck in the first part, though, which is definitely where I think a lot of people do, then that's probably where a lot of the length is going to be added.
Yeah, it is exactly up my wheelhouse. It's a game I wish I would have played this past year. I definitely want to play it next year. I love roguelikes. I love card games. I got into Magic the Gathering in 2020, and I've been playing Hearthstone since like 2015. So it's up my wheelhouse. I think part of me was I didn't want another card game to have to think about because I already mix up Hearthstone and Magic a lot. But I love the fact that this is a game where you buy it once and it's a single player card game. Like, it's super unique. You don't have to buy more cards. I'm guessing. I don't know. Yeah, you don't have to buy more cards.
Yes.
You get all the cards at once. It's definitely you can't even compare it to Hearthstone or Magic, right? I know
No.
the style is the same, but like gameplay wise, it's designed to play against an AI, and that's it, right? It's PV.
Correct. It's PvE. It would not work
Right.
in a PvP environment. I don't think they would have to tweak it quite hard. And
Which is good. I don't
Yes.
want them to make it PvP. Like, there's enough there's enough competitive trading card games online. So, yeah, I definitely want to give it a shot. I love the fact that there's a story. I did play through the demo because that was free, and that
Yes,
was
it is.
super. It was enthralling, and I think I lost, and I think I was just frustrated. And like you said, I didn't want to go back to it because I was like, this takes a lot more thinking than I'm willing to put in right now. But I love the idea. I love that it exists, and I'm gonna have to pick it up. I don't know if price goes into your ratings. Do you remember like what they priced the game at when they released it, or what it's at?
I think it's like $15-ish on Steam right now.
Yeah, that sounds if that's really the price, I think then that's a great experience for someone who likes roguelikes or card games.
It's a pretty good bang for your buck. I wanted to include this game specifically because I would recommend it to people that maybe even don't, as something just to try.
Oh, kind of like a gateway. It's like a taste of if you like the genre.
Yes. I mean, like, well, bits and pieces. I do think that I'm not a super big fan of roguelikes. Like, I enjoy Risk of Rain, but usually just because I'm playing with friends and other people. Like, I would never really just set out and play that game on my own. Whereas, well, this, besides the fact that it's single player, I was intrigued enough to kind of try it. You're also not losing a whole lot besides just time. I think the most a run, quote unquote, would take is like maybe an hour. And then, again, as things begin to change and the nature of the game begins to change, it becomes less punishing for failure. So I wouldn't necessarily even worry about that. But yeah, pretty good bang for your buck, to get to your point.
Yeah, so I just checked on Steam. It's $20.
That is 20? Okay.
20. Yeah.
I mean, seems good.
Yeah.
Maybe I bought it on sale then.
I just want to say I watched this game. Someone play this game, and it is a wild ride. And one thing that I really loved about it was that it just builds off of itself. It just like evolves as you play.
There's definitely a lot
It's
of
just fun.
interesting puzzles, and definitely no shame in the fact that I had to look one or two things up because I was kind of banging my head against a wall at one point. Or rather, I would have if I hadn't seen someone play through part of it already, but... I'm sorry, what were you saying something?
Oh no, I made a nonsensical comment.
Was this something that you would even consider trying the demo for?
I would consider trying the demo just because I've been hearing you talk high praises of it for a couple weeks. But you know me, I could never get into the card games or the roguelikes.
Not even Gwent?
So no, I paid the money for the full game of Stonebreaker, Thronebreaker, and I never even played it.
That's okay. I don't think this game is too much like Gwent anyway, so...
It's spooky Gwent. It's spooky, scary, dark. Not Gwent, I should say.
Yes, and for anyone that would is like, oh my gosh, it's a horror game. It's not anything too bad. It's more just kind of. And feel free to chime in, Ryan, if you agree or disagree on this. But it's more just like some of the mystery is a little maybe creepy. It might send a shiver up your spine to like see some of the things that happen and discover a little bit, and it's a little unsettling maybe. But
Yeah, that's the word I was gonna say. Unsettling.
I guess as an example, when you deal damage or take damage, you kind of tip a scale, and the thing that is put onto the scale is teeth.
Yeah, I remember that part. That was enough to make me be like, what the heck is going on?
A little bit of a shock.
A little bit. Nothing too grotesque, but yeah, just be aware of that. I guess there is also quite a bit of light humor sprinkled in there. I don't know if I could properly describe some of the better jokes that I stumbled across without spoiling anything, so I won't. But little bits of levity, some brightness in there. But anyway, Inscription, 3 out of 5 for me, and that one have about 13 hours of gameplay, and I might go back and play that infinite mode, but otherwise that's kind of just a one and done one, and that's why it's sitting in number 10. Number 9. Guys, let me ask you a question. You ever just want to take a nice break? You don't want to play anything too crazy. You don't want to get into an FPS or even a stressful Hearthstone game. You just want to sit back, relax, maybe play some music, and just get something accomplished. You ever have days like that? Because Power Wash Simulator is definitely the game for you, let me tell you. Power Wash Simulator is all about the satisfaction of a job well done. You're simply cleaning things. It's kind of like an FPS, I guess, at least from the perspective that you play it, but you're not shooting people. You're not shooting targets. You're cleaning dirt and grime and rust. You're cleaning cars. You're cleaning Ferris wheels. Someone's backyard, just cleaning off the back of their house. It's got nice progression systems. It's got lovely sound effects. The sound design is nothing necessarily to write home about, and there's not a lot of music, or actually, I don't know if there's really any music, but it's a good game to kind of play music in the background of. And most importantly, as Will can attest to, it now has multiplayer. And cleaning gets a whole lot better when someone else is cleaning with you. This is just kind of a weird game, and I probably put too much time into it. But, yeah, oh, Jesus. 50 hours. It's a lot more than I thought. But it's fun. It's surprising. This is definitely the most surprising game of the year for me. That something so weird would be so... Is cathartic the right word?
Like satisfactory?
Satisfactory, yeah. It's just very satisfying. And unlike normal power washing, doesn't suck. I can attest.
It surprised me.
Well,
like, go ahead, Will.
You quickly get a better power washer than you would normally deal with in real life.
That's true. You also have a backpack that just infinitely supplies you water instead of having to be hooked up to anything. So, that's kind of nice.
It surprised me because, like, I know you, Zach, and you're not someone who, like, spends all day just doing things like cleaning or organizing and getting everything, like, in prim proper shape. Like, I know people who are those types of personalities who they, like, in their real life love to do stuff like get things in, like, they just spend all day organizing and cleaning, and that gives them joy. That's not you, right? I don't think that's you, unless it's changed.
That was a hell of a roast.
Yeah, I know you, Zach. You're not a clean person.
You're not a clean person.
You don't. Exactly what I was going for.
I mean, I used to be. I got a lot of satisfaction out of organizing stuff, but it turns out when you live alone, for the most part, you don't really need to worry too much about keeping things neat and tidy. So.
That's fair. I was going to say, because it doesn't sound like your personality, but it sounds like you're saying it is your personality. You just don't have anything to clean. This game gives you infinite things to clean. I don't know. It doesn't sound very appealing to me. Obviously, it's appealing because 50 hours for you to put into it means that it clicked something in your brain. I'm curious what that is. I'm gonna have to try
Dopamine.
and find out what dopamine.
I don't know.
I guess.
He got 55 and a half times more dopamine out of that game than I did.
But we did make an important discovery, which is in multiplayer, if you if you aim the power washer at another player, you push them, which can lead to shenanigans.
It's a whole different game now.
It's a whole different game. You could make games out of it. You could go to the Ferris wheel level and like have it, set it going, and then like get on top of it and then like fight to the death. Again, maybe not the point of a cool, relaxing game, but I think once this becomes multiplayer, you start to throw a little bit of that out the window. I don't know that it really ever needed multiplayer, but it'll be something for people to mess around with, I guess.
Way to introduce violence into the only non-violent game
Yeah.
that I think will be on your list.
That's what, yeah.
You monster.
I am a monster, I'm sorry. But I'm a cleanly monster.
You're a clean one.
But I
Power
recommend
monster.
this to pretty much anyone, as long as you get what you pay for. Like, it's not gonna... You know exactly what it is by looking at it. Like, watch a video of someone playing this on YouTube, and I think you'll have a pretty clear idea of what it is. I will say, does a fantastic job of... There's, like, a highlight dirt function, which just... Anything you haven't cleaned, just it makes it, like, bright orange for a few seconds. Very rarely ever ran into a scenario where I was like, okay, there is like a tiny fraction of this wall I haven't cleaned and I can't find it. Some of the more intricate levels have a lot of nooks and crannies, but they're pretty forgiving about getting to that 100%. Like once you have it like 95% of the way there, it usually just says, yep, that's done. So little frustration there if that's something anyone would be worried about when trying to play this. But
How many different levels are there?
quite a few. I don't know offhand. I'll maybe make a mention of it in the video here. But there are locations and then there's vehicles. And I think like there's maybe 5-ish cars, a couple. There's like an airplane and a helicopter. There's a boat. And then they just have like, you start in a neighborhood and then you kind of work out towards more exotic locations that are just fun. Like there's a carnival where you clean a slide, a Ferris wheel, and a merry-go-round. There's like a jungle dwelling, a hut. That's probably the biggest map in the game that I can think of. That's definitely the one that I think took the longest. Skate park. A lot of varied locations, honestly.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. But if you like doing satisfying things and watching numbers go up when you complete them and hearing a very satisfying ding every time something gets done, it's the game for you.
I'm the only one that played this of the rest of the crew here, and I played 0.9 hours of it. I think I owned it for half the time that Zach owned it, maybe a little more. It's if you're familiar with a lot of the truck simulators or the farm simulators, it's kind of that type of game where you accumulate better gear over time, and that's kind of the objective, as well as whatever satisfaction you can get out of the direct gameplay. But I did not find myself going back to it when I needed to chill out or relax.
All right, well, moving right along then. The number 8 position on the list. I kind of wanted to put Power Wash Simulator above this just to send a message, but I didn't because I still put about 200 hours into this game, and I'll explain why that's on the low end in a second here. Monster Hunter Rise, the latest installment of the Monster Hunter franchise. For anyone who is not aware, Monster Hunter is probably my favorite game series of all time. Well, maybe not series, but it's definitely my favorite game, Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate specifically. Rise, being the latest edition, has moved back from PC and PlayStation and Xbox and onto the Switch, though a PC port is coming pretty soon, if it's not already out. in some ways a return to form. In others, I think it tried too many new things, which isn't bad, and I don't want to, necessarily ever shun game developers for doing stuff like that, but the game unfortunately came out unfinished. And it took a while to really get going. It's also probably a good jumping off point for anyone that ever wanted to try a Monster Hunter game, because it's incredibly easy, and it's kind of hard to gauge when I have thousands of hours into a series like this, but they really just started providing difficult content via free DLC recently, and that's a pretty big problem in my eyes. There really was not an end game of any kind in this game for quite a while, and even now, I would argue that there really isn't too much to keep you going. The base game is still the same. The big additions here being wire bugs, which are these kind of like Spider-Man-esque little insects that you fling forward, and then your character is pulled or jettisoned forward in the direction that you aimed, which on paper is really fun and a cool idea. Where it starts to get a little bit tricky is A, fitting in controls for all of that. That definitely took me a while, even as a series veteran, to get used to. B, I'm not really sure I like how they took certain moves from certain weapons and made them into wirebug-based moves, because it then puts them on a cooldown instead of being wildly accessible all the time. And C, it changed how mounts work. And this is probably the biggest thing in the game that makes it easy, is mounts are horribly broken now. Instead of just jumping on the monster, doing a mini game to knock it over, and then letting your teammates wail on it, you now instead just deal enough damage by doing jump attacks, and instead of jumping on the monster and doing a mini game to knock it down, you get to control the monster. Which sounds really cool, right? Except for the fact that, I don't know, it seems like it makes the monsters, to me at least, seem a lot less cool, because you're basically just kind of taming them and being like, haha, this isn't even a threat whatsoever. I'm literally riding this thing like a rodeo clown now. And you can do it on big monsters, small monsters. You can do it on elder dragons, which I didn't expect at all. I figured they would at least let them escape with their dignity. But the problem,
there are monsters that you can't. Those Apex monsters.
yes, I don't think that's enough.
No,
Is
I just want
unfortunately
to point
the
out there.
problem. But yes, you're right. Apex monsters, we'll get to in a minute here, are the ones that you can't mount. But regardless, the biggest thing is that when monsters used to come into the same area together, like in World specifically or in older games, if they fought each other, it was like usually a quick one and done thing, or they just ganged up on you, and like you needed to prepare for that by like sending a monster away with a dung bomb or something like that. In this game, monsters only care about fighting each other. And if they so much as sneeze on another monster, it makes that monster free to mount instantaneously. So basically just free mounts all the time. Like you can easily get them anytime two monsters come into the same area, and it does a ton of damage. Not that it's super efficient to do so, but there's already been videos where people just beat a monster with only mount damage because it's so high. And if it weren't for the fact that there's a cooldown for how frequently you could do that, it would be a really, really short hunt. That being the big gimmick of the game, wasn't really sold on it. The other is these weird rampage quests, which I guess they were expecting to be endgame and end up more just being tower defense, but Monster Hunter. Nick, did you really enjoy those all that much?
Never once.
Okay.
I never walked away being like, dang, this was an enjoyable hunt. I was like, that was 12, 15, 20 minutes of, I don't know, tower defense. It's not why I booted up the game.
Right. It's just, let's put 7 monsters on the screen at once, and then you could shoot at them with a minigun until they go away.
Which isn't new to the franchise. You know the franchise more than I do, but like they've had hunts in the past where you have to hop on a boat with a gun and shoot the monster. Like that's not new. They've had hunts like that, but just never in this format, right?
No, that typically is more reserved for like the big spectacle fights. Like you're fighting something that's super large and like kind of mandates that you shoot a
Right.
ballista at it or a cannon at it. Usually to some end. Most of the time, if you're just doing it for damage, you're probably better off whacking it with your hammer or your sword. But because they're constantly throwing monsters at you, the guns and the turrets and the cannons need to be horribly efficient, and for the most part they are. Not that you could probably solo any quest with them. I think especially for the ones that involve apex monsters or elder dragons, you would need to probably get in there and do combat damage at some point. But it just it's kind of a mess, and I don't really ever see people going in lobbies and playing those just for the fun of it. Though they are necessary for rampage weapons, which is this game's version of, I guess, your hyper monster, your apex, your frenzied monster, your tempered creatures. We have apex monsters in this game, and they are pretty much cut and paste deviants from Generations Ultimate. So Strike 1. Strike 2, they have no unique armor or weapons whatsoever, though I guess you could kind of count rampage weapons being a thing. And I would say 3 is that it's a really limited roster of them. I was kind of hoping for a few more. We have Zinogre Diablos, Rathian Rathalos, Mizutsune, and Arzuros. And I think that's it. And considering, again, some of them are just copy-pasted, I don't know. It just feels lazy. And I was really hoping for more out of the game as a whole. I'm glad that they brought back some unique Elder Dragons. I'm glad Chameleos is in this game. I was really excited that Valstrax is in this game as a new variant, and that's probably my favorite fight. But it's hard to kind of... I don't want to linger on this for too long because I already feel like I'm rambling here. But for a game to kind of exist in this nature... I feel like they listened to my review last year where I was like, wow, the end game of World sure is grindy and kind of tediously hard. And then they just backpedaled way too far in the other direction. This game makes me miss World, which is something I never thought I would say. Ugh. But
I did
what?
see CatCon reviewed your last YouTube video. They were highly active in the comment section of that one.
Yeah, I guess so. What was your overall takeaway from this game, Nick? I mean, it was fun to play with you. I will,
Yeah, I'm having a hard time separate that.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's very fun to play. Like, came over and played it. I have a different lens than you do because you've played 1,000+ hours of Monster Hunter games, and I've played maybe like 150.
Mm-hmm.
This is like the third Monster Hunter game that Zach kind of tried to get me to play, and by far this is the most fun one I've played of those ones for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's I'm not saying that's because it's a better game than other ones I've tried, which was what, 4 and Ultimate, Gen U Ultimate.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it was easily this is the most accessible Monster Hunter. Is that a fair statement, or do you know if that's...
No, I would agree. Besides
Yeah.
maybe the learning curve of picking up wire bugs for the first time.
Sure, maybe that. But for some reason, this one just kind of felt I could get it more. Maybe it was because it's like third time's the charm. I played 2 of these games before. But no, this one I picked up, and like the demo got me hooked, and then the game came out and I was hooked. I agree with you, Zach, that like I felt like there was never a challenge, which is unfortunate because these games are supposed to be historically like never-ending content. You just keep grinding and grinding and so much content, and you get all these armor sets and weapons. I never really felt the need to do that in this game, which I feel like I would have in other games. But yeah, I wish I had my Switch with me right now. I have something like 110 hours on the game, and that's a lot for me. I don't play single games that much. So I played it a ton, and I enjoyed it a lot. Definitely deserves top 10 for me too. But I totally get the frustration, or kind of the maybe not frustration, just kind of the disappointment. Exactly.
Disappointment is the
It
word.
could have been something so good,
Yeah.
and it was something that was like so close. Like you could see the lines they could have taken to make it a little like just better.
Mm-hmm.
They got mostly there. Being unfinished on release is a pain point, I know, for you, and it's kind of becoming a pain point for me too. I don't like them doing that. So.
And that's not
Sure, buddy.
necessarily anything new. I don't want to insinuate that older games like came with everything out, but it's just never been this neutered before. Like the fact that we couldn't even unlock our hunter rank, and there was quite a few elder dragons missing from the game, and just I don't know. I mean, it came out a month later, but yeah, you could have just delayed the game a month too, and probably would have been less salty about it.
Yeah.
But interesting cast of monsters in this game. Gossarog is probably my favorite. What's your new favorite, or I mean, just favorite in general from
Oh,
this?
mine.
Okay, well,
Gossrog is really fun. I don't mind Magnum though. He's the cover guy, isn't he?
yeah,
Yeah, he's pretty sweet.
Explosion Kitty.
Purple explosions. Yeah, Explosion Kitty. Also Zinogre. It's a super fun fight.
Always enjoy
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully Sunbreak brings back some fun, more end game type stuff. And again, don't want it to be too grindy, but this is again just an overcorrection too far in the other direction. I think there's not enough to do. This is probably the only Monster Hunter game where I've come close to finishing every quest, which is wild to me.
Yeah, that sums it up best for me too. Really good game, really visually aesthetic and fun to play, just not enough to do.
Yep. Bring back Poogie. That's the other one. I cannot believe Poogie's not in this game. It's a tragedy. Crime against humanity.
I don't remember that one.
He's the cute little... You have a pet pig. His name is Poogie.
Oh, I was trying to picture a giant dragon.
Oh, no.
Just one of the
Endgame Poogie fight.
in-game mega ultra shadow Poogie.
Well, Ryan, any thoughts or opinions on Monster Hunter? I know that you guys have not necessarily delved into this realm, but...
Nope. I don't know anything about Monster Hunter, so sorry I can't contribute.
It's okay. It's a fun series, and I mean the name of the game is basically what you do: fight monsters and hunt them, turn them into pants, go and fight more monsters.
And it is a multiplayer game?
It is. There is back to a dedicated kind of single player number of quests, and then the rest is all mostly online and available to multiplayer. But you could do it all solo if you wanted to.
Okay.
Next game on the list is the sequel to last year's winner, Subnautica Below Zero, taking a much different approach to Subnautica in the sense that it is a new environment, albeit on the same planet, and definitely a different take on the story, which probably is its biggest weakness, at least in my eyes. This is a game where, again, I think that they tried something very different, and in a lot of ways it worked. However, it's just a little misguided. That being said, the formula of Subnautica to me is just so good and so fun. You explore this big open ocean. You go around collecting upgrades, which allow you to go further and explore more. Run into a creepy fish every once in a while. It's literally just make more, and I will play that. And that's kind of what they did. The new things they tried were changing the environment from being more open ocean to more kind of condensed, closed off areas. Definitely a little more claustrophobic in certain zones. And also the addition of a lot of above ground sections in icy tundras. And I don't think the tundras were really something that ever stuck out to me. What did you think, Will?
Nothing in that game really stuck out to me. Not to be too harsh on it. I still had a lot of fun playing it.
Mm-hmm.
It was more Subnautica. It was less of the Subnautica that I was hoping for,
Mm-hmm.
but it struck a couple of the same chords. But it was missing like the surprise story. The first game surprised me that it had a story. I wasn't expecting it, and it was pretty good. I was really curious about what happens at every twist and turn of exploring the planet. Subnautica Sub-Zero did not meet that expectation. I found myself not interested in the story and just kind of was wondering, when does it get done? How do I make it to the end of this game so I can say I finished it? A lot less like cool underwater exploratory moments and less cool technology. I missed my Cyclops.
That's a crime that it's not in this.
The yellow school bus that I made just did not live up to the hype.
So yeah, and I understand why the Cyclops is gone. Again, because it's not as open oceany. I don't think it wouldn't fit into a lot of areas. It would be nearly impossible to navigate, like deep lily pads or any of the Twisty Bridge area with it. So what is it? It's not that you want me to call it the sea bus because it's the sea truck. That's what it is. The sea truck is like a nice in between the sea moth and the cyclops, I guess. But
I don't know if I'd use the word nice.
you didn't like it? I kind of liked it. I didn't think it was terrible.
Well, it was like, but like I wanted to have all the things with me. The Cyclops was a no compromises ultimate tool of exploration and utility, and the school bus was you had to compromise. Either it was a mile long centipede that didn't fit anywhere, or it was a substandard tool that also didn't really fit anywhere, but it fit better.
Yeah.
It didn't have like I like there's like 2 or 3 levels of the original Cyclops. I felt like I was in like a real machine of exploration or war. It felt badass. And the bus felt like a bus. And I was like, "Oh, this is the module that makes it not super inconvenient to carry things around. This is the module that lets me carry along the exosuit, you know, jumpsuit thing." And it's like, well, once you add a third thing, then it's like, oh, every time you turn left, you're gonna smack into a mountain every time.
Yeah. I just don't know if it's super fair because the Cyclops is kind of the coolest. I think the sea truck does its job, but yes, you're not wrong in any of the points you bring up for sure.
I've said this before in many a drunken ramble, but I think the Cyclops is one of the coolest like science fiction ships, vessels out there. You know, I'm really into that kind of stuff, and it says a lot that an indie game company can make, you know, something that competes with my favorite Enterprise, or like my favorite Star Wars ships, you know, in fiction.
I would agree, and the welcome aboard message is definitely
legendary.
I miss it so much.
Welcome aboard, Captain. All systems online.
I don't know. I think this one's higher up for me just because I do like a lot of the new areas. The distribution of the tech that you find isn't the best in this game. It's all kind of lumped into like a couple of areas, but it was still fun to explore some of the pieces. I do like that they added the oxygen bubbles, the plants rather, that provide you with it's like either 30 or 50 seconds more of oxygen, because it felt a little more organic to explore, especially during the starting areas and 1 or 2 areas I won't mention for spoiler reasons, but I had a couple of oh shit moments for sure in terms of finding things and discovering them, but I think it would have been better if those were also accompanied by a lot of oh shit moments because there was some type of giant hostile creature, because this game certainly lacks that. Most of the Leviathans, of which there are very few in number, do not really give a rat's ass that you are around, whereas Reapers from the first game kind of just will tear you to shreds as you tiptoe into their a millimeter into their region. So that was another kind of a disappointment. I didn't come close to dying in this game, I don't think, even once. Except for the fact that there's still a bug where if you open your PDA underwater, you slowly freeze to death. That's fun. Ryan, is this one that you had watched?
Yes, I have. I've watched someone play the original Subnautica and the Below Zero. I would say that like the kind of thing that I felt from it was it felt like the Below Zero was a like fan-made version of Subnautica. It was made. It felt like it was made by like another company or something. Just like the like correlation between the two kind of seemed different, but it is a game that I definitely feel a desire to play since I love open world type collecting and building things. But I would probably start with the first one. But so what was the like? I don't know if you got into that kind of stuff a whole lot, but how was the second game compared to the first game in that aspect
Of the open worldness?
or like the building thing and
So they streamlined quite a lot of the building in this game. I don't know outside of lead, which is required for a lot in this game specifically. Lead is the new copper. In the first game, copper was like you needed so much of it. In this game, it's lead for a lot of things. I think it's better, I guess. There's a lot more, especially if you are interested in like actually making a base aesthetically pleasing. There's new rooms, ones that you can add like partitions to. There's a new module, I think, that allows you to monitor power in your base as well as change the color of it, and it puts like a set pin on the map. And you can, biggest thing for sure is you can pin recipes to your hotbar. So like if you're like trying to get pieces done for something, that was actually a very good thing. Thank you, developers. But yeah, I don't know. And finding resources is not really a pain either. There's a couple new tools to help you do that as well, besides the scanner room from the first game. There's basically a handheld version of the scanner room, though its range is far more limited, I would say.
Okay.
Will, I think you probably went more the efficiency route for your base, right? Nothing too...
Yeah, I'm a much more utilitarian builder, and I would say that the sequel did. I would have expected a sequel to have a whole lot of new, rooms and additions that you could build to your base, and there really wasn't. There wasn't a whole lot of more variety for ways you could make power or cool, useful areas.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cosmetic areas. There's like one offhand I can remember one new type of room, and I wasn't super impressed. It felt familiar. It just felt, I don't know. I laughed at Ryan when he said that it felt like a fan made mod, because like the writing kind of felt like fan fiction quality.
It's bad.
And
Yeah, I think that was where it was. It seemed like a little bit too predictable.
I would say that as well about the additions to like the base and stuff. Is like, fans wanted some artistic stuff, and someone who is more into utilitarian buildings, it's like there's nothing added that scratched my itches.
Yeah. I do want to say I did enjoy watching someone play this game.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fun game to watch.
Something I sat through 2 people playing as well. I occasionally watched Will play through this. There's a really good video that Will has on his channel from Below Zero.
The most exciting moment of that game
Absolutely.
is captured in a video.
It is. It's a little spoilery because it happens in a late game section. So I'll link it. But if you're sensitive to spoilers, maybe save it for later. Or if you're not worried about it, then feel free. But what about you, Nick? Any fears of the deep blue ocean? Any desires to play Subnautica?
I desire to feel something, and this game feels like I'd get spooked by being in a large open area of water. I don't know. I still haven't played the first one, and you said that it sounds like if I haven't played either of them, you'd recommend playing the first one, right?
Yes,
Still, even though
always.
the second one's out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, don't have any opinions on Below Zero, but the first one's on my list of games that I want to play if I want to feel scared. Although I think another game's going to come up on the list that I'm going to play first.
That is fair.
But yeah, it looks good.
This next one I'm going to keep fast because the game itself is about going fast. Very fast. Forza Horizon 5 fast. It's pretty... this is, I guess, in a similar vein to my opinion of Below Zero. Give me more of what you've been doing before and I'll probably play it. Forza Horizon 5 is unique in the sense that I've actually started to do a lot of the online content that has been added since 4. In this game, though, I don't think it quite hits that first time awe and experience of Forza Horizon 3. That was my first game. This one comes pretty close. There are a hell of a lot more things to do in terms of like exploration. Developing your festival kind of comes in little story bits where you like will explore a new area and it'll like have you kind of follow a path, maybe giving you simple tasks to do as you do so. It makes a pretty big spectacle about it. That's probably something that could describe the whole game is trying to be big spectacle. My biggest gripe for sure is that the online is definitely garbage. This is a game that probably also could have used a little bit more time to bake because the servers are terrible. I don't do online racing, and I don't know if I really ever will. Forza, sorry, has kind of been my outlet for another chill game to play. Just sit back, relax, drive over a big map, and do some exploring. Even if I wanted to, I feel like I would have a hard time getting into it because I regularly get booted from the server that I'm on, and it constantly notifies me as such. Hopefully they'll fix it. We'll see. I think it's gotten better with a couple of patches that have come out, but yeah, this game had a pretty rough launch for online. That said, it's the first game where I'm starting to pick up manual instead of automatic, and that actually added so much depth to the game that I am super excited to continue racing and getting better at that. I'm playing against higher difficulty AI, mostly just because you need to do that for some of the weekly challenges, but turns out I'm a little bit better at driving than I thought. I'm not just ramming people off the road to gain places anymore. I'm actually using some cunning and some thought.
Would you ever get an actual racing wheel, or do you just like a controller too much?
No, I would, especially because this game for some reason requires you to have certain keys mapped all the time, and because of that, when I changed my gaming setup, I now have it that left 3, where you like push down on the stick, opens up the map, and sometimes when I turn too hard, and by turn too hard, I'm like just like go left, go left, go left. I'll like push down on the stick and then accidentally pop open the map. Because I literally have nowhere else to put that button, which is a little frustrating. I would love to try this with the wheel, for sure. I think it would be great. I don't know if I want to commit that much money to it. That said,
especially with going like manual. I don't know. If I guess there's a difference between wheel and pedals, right?
Yes. Well, actually, I don't know. I think I really can't speak to it. What I mean by manual versus automatic is like hold down right trigger to accelerate versus hold down right trigger to accelerate. When you want to go up to the next gear, press B. If you want to go down a gear, press X. But that gives you so much more control over the vehicle in terms of speeding up and slowing down that it was not even really that hard to learn. It was a pretty fun experience through and through. If anyone has interest in like a light arcade racing game, I would say give this one a shot. Because it's a big, AAA studio game, it's expensive. It's the normal $60, but if you like racers and you want something that's not super serious, like not Gran Turismo levels of detail, but is a little more in depth than your Mario Kart, I would say check this out. There's a lot of fun to be had. There's off-road racing, there's rally racing, there's street racing, there's track racing, quite a lot of variety. They keep adding cars. There's so many cars in this game, it's insane. And you can pretty much tweak them any way you want. Like you can make a sports car do off-road, and people have. Where it used to be, I feel like in older games there was just like the cover car or some of the better cars could just kind of handle off-road. In this game you actually do need to do a little bit more to build them to do that, which is good because a Lamborghini should not just like stock build be racing across the desert at top speed. That doesn't make much sense. But it is always kind of goofy if you like slap off-road tires on it to see one just kind of going woo across the desert dunes, and it's silly. It's goofy. It's fun. Only real gripe is that again, servers are kind of clunky, and then the acting is bad. It's really bad. Anytime you do a story mission, it's painful listening to 90% of the voice acting cast. There's a few that are okay, but most of them are just terrible, including your avatar, because they decided to give it a voice. Really weird going to Mexico and hearing a lot of British people. This next game is a bit of a tricky one. It is very near and dear to me in that the first game of this series is where I got my online namesake. The World Ends With You is probably one of my favorite games ever. So the sequel, Neo, The World Ends With You, I had quite high hopes for. And for the most part, it delivers. And I wanted to almost give this game a 5. It was very close. But the combat in this game. It's pretty rough, particularly in the mid-game. For those of you who don't know, this is a JRPG style game of which basically people are kind of taken from the real world and placed into this contest of sorts. It's a week-long, almost Hunger Games style survivathon where you have to fight for survival against enemy teams, completing various objectives, and fighting various enemies that come in the form of noise. Noise being just like negative emotions that look like animals and kind of have interesting tattoo designs across their bodies. It all takes place in Shibuya, which is a real place in Japan. So there is quite a lot of like real locations that were kind of made and twisted to fit the game's purposes. Not super exploration heavy or anything, but does involve some light puzzles and just all your general JRPG tropes. Leveling up, getting new gear, which comes in the form of actual clothes and fashion, which is something that I always found funny about this game. You get your stat boost by eating ramen, curry, hot dogs, tacos, whatever you can find across the streets of Shibuya, and definitely one of the highlights has always been for this series its characters, and in this game they are all pretty good. I don't think it's as strong a story as the first game by any stretch of the imagination, but there's definitely some good character beats, some good development, and definitely a moment or two where I was kind of tearing up towards certain parts. There's a couple characters in particular that have some nice arcs to them and made quite a bit of attachment to. Again, though, the weak point of this game is the combat, and that's because when you take a game that's already in 2D and then try to transition it into 3D, you need to make certain changes, and the targeting system in this game is just terrible. You target pretty randomly, especially because you're in control of a couple of characters at once. You start with 2 people, and you literally have one action that each of those characters can do, but as you gather more people into your team, you start jumping between them, and the targeting system will stay locked onto whoever you're targeting at the time for consistency's sake. But if you want to switch to literally any other target, and that might be someone that's now behind you because you've just changed your field of view, it's a huge issue and a pain in the butt. And it gets particularly bad when you have creatures and enemies that are zip zooming around and attacks that you have no hope of blocking. You can get pinned from off screen by an enemy. You can get just like one shot by bad camera placement. It's kind of a mess, and honestly, that's I almost put this game down a couple of times because of it. There's one boss in particular where you're fighting on a rooftop, and it's rough, especially just because the game doesn't really give you any way to heal that effectively. Basically, if you wanted to have one of your characters heal, you're saying, all right, you do not get to do damage anymore. Your sole job is a healer, which at certain points of the game is a huge blow to DPS. And it's not really something that you could ever do. In the first game, if you did combo attacks between your characters that you're controlling, you would gain HP back. They've removed that from this game for all but the strongest combo attacks, and I can't fathom why. I mean, it's probably because they come too quickly in this game. They're easier to build up, and I guess it could be cheese, but healing is just a massive struggle, and it turns a lot of the fights into you just need to out DPS the opponents, otherwise you will get destroyed. But I love the visuals of this game. I love the feel and the atmosphere of this game. I love the music. The music is amazing. It's like all over the place, and it's like J-pop and rap and like hard rock, alternative music, and it's also very good. And it gives me huge nostalgia for the first game, so it definitely gets points there. If any of what I've said sounds appealing and you want to try this, do yourself a favor, play the first game. Don't watch the anime. The anime is terrible. It's really bad, and I don't know why they thought that it would be a good bridge for anyone that wanted to jump into this. But yeah, and you definitely do need to play the first game. I thought that this was going to be a spiritual successor, but it touches on a lot of stuff that happened in the first game, and quite a few characters are also mentioned as well. So do yourself a favor, play the first game on the DS if possible. I know that's hard, but this game is available on Switch as well. Just very different. It's also available on iOS, I believe. But yeah, fantastic game. Love everything but the combat is basically the takeaway from this one.
I can confirm that the show is shit. Not that I've watched it, but it got absolutely decimated in the IMDb for anime website.
Fair enough.
When you said to try the original,
Mm-hmm.
The World Ends With You, and you said it, did you say it was on Switch? Or you said it's on
It
DS?
is. There's a
You still recommend
basically.
to play it on DS.
I would recommend, if at all possible, to play it on DS because the combat in that game is very interesting, and DS plays a pretty big part in why that is. It's kind of simplified to fit the fact that the Switch only has one screen.
Yeah, that's fair. It's hard to... Yeah, I see how that's a struggle. You're trying to mash two screens in one.
I mean, they did a decent job of moving it over, but I would still say play on the DS.
And you said it's on iOS?
I'm pretty sure you can get it on your iPad, yes,
Interesting.
It's very interesting.
because you do need a touchscreen.
I bet that's not a terrible, like, same form factor as a DS, kind of. I guess you don't get the... No. There's no buttons on an iPad, but there's a giant touchscreen, so there's that.
From here on out, it's only fives the whole way down. So coming in at the number 4 spot is finally the 5th installment of the mainline series of games in the Metroid universe, Metroid Dread. This is, I don't know if I would say it's my favorite. It's probably my favorite 2D Metroid game. Zero Mission is always gonna probably have a special place in my heart. Also just because I absolutely decimated that game. But Dread feels like a very fantastic evolution of everything that's been Metroid so far. It doesn't necessarily have the big sprawling world that is Super Metroid. It doesn't maybe have the super... Well, actually, you know what? It does. This is probably my favorite combat of a Metroid game for sure. Couple that with just the fluid movement, this impending sense of doom that's almost kind of stolen from Fusion in certain places, and I don't know, it just all comes together to be something awesome. I really do wish there was a bit more of it, especially, I don't know, for a $60 big studio game. You can kind of plow through this on your first attempt, or not, well, your first playthrough, maybe probably like 6 to 10 hours. And then subsequent playthroughs are only going to get shorter, even on the higher difficulty. I think I blew through my hard mode 100% playthrough in about 5 hours. And the replayability is pretty much only coming in the form of getting through the game faster and getting some of those achievements done, the speed runs, the shortest of which is beat the game in 4 hours for each difficulty. But I still want to play this game a lot. I don't think I'm necessarily tired of it yet. It's just that I've had a lot of other stuff kind of come up recently that's maybe had me kind of put off going for some of the speed running. But I could easily just pick this game back up and play it and enjoy it. The Emmys, the evil robots that are hunting you down, I think are a fantastic addition. They're probably just about as fair as they need to be. I think that they could have honestly been a bit more difficult in the late game, if only because as you start to acquire more power-ups, gain more mobility, you start to definitely get a big edge on escaping these things. But the first couple definitely put you in a position where you are running for your life and just barely staying ahead of these things, which just gives me all of the endorphins. It's just such a big rush. It's great. The boss battles in this, I think, except for maybe one of them, are all pretty spot on. The last boss in particular is so crazy, and this we're gonna have to have a dedicated spoiler section for this, and I'll mention when that's gonna happen because I want to talk about a few pretty big plot things that come up that are crazy. Yeah, I love the visual presentation of the game. The soundtrack is a little bit lacking, I would say, particularly for the boss battles. I think all the atmospheric tracks for locations are fine. For just a standard 2D or 2.5D Metroid experience, this is good, is very good. I think, though, we might have some interesting takes from both Nick and Will, because, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys have only played Fusion, and then you both played through this game? Is that right?
That is correct.
I don't think I played through Fusion. In
Oh,
terms
you
of 2D Metroids, if I did, it was like a couple hours and then it stopped. But I think this might have been my first full 2D Metroid. Played a little bit of Super Metroid on my Super NES or my SNES Mini that I got, but yeah.
Is
No,
the
I got
jump not massive in between? Like, obviously, it's an SNES game, but those controls hold up. But that
Yeah.
being said, it's wildly different, right?
Yeah, I mean for sure they had a lot. Turns out like a decade or two of improvements had a lot. Granted, I had played all the Metroid Primes and I played Metroid Heroes. No, what are they called?
Prime Hunters?
Thank you. So I have Metroid knowledge, but 2D Metroids, this was my first. I don't know who wants to go first. You or me? Will.
Why don't you go first, Nick?
This was my number one. This is my number one game of the year, like hands down. I don't know. I couldn't think of a game that I enjoyed more this year that I played. It went by too fast, so maybe that's why I also would knock it down points. But it's more of the people bring up the price a lot. $60 for an 8-hour game seems like, oh yeah, you should get more content than that. I don't know if it's like a hell of a good 6 hours. I mean, you can get your money's worth. Yeah, it was super fun, super polished. I was like, there's so many points in the game when I just kind of stopped and looked around because it was just pretty, like background wise. I never felt a 2D game. I felt like with the controls being so fluid as this one. Yeah, I enjoyed it. As someone who I was most worried about getting lost a lot because as someone who gets lost in real life all of the dang time, I was like, I'm gonna suck at this game. I'm just gonna get frustrated and then quit. But no, they did a really good job with the map. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just like shorter games, and this game was a nice short game that like I thoroughly enjoyed fully, and I'm excited to play through it again on a harder difficulty. And I super enjoy watching people speedrun it.
Oh, it's nuts. The tech in this game is insane.
Yeah, it's so fun to watch. It's been fun to watch that evolve too.
Yeah. I will also say, crazy that there are some pretty big sequence breaks. Nothing like too, wildly like you get one of the end game items like super early. Well, at least without glitches, but there was a lot of detail for some of these sequence breaks that they added to the game, like that people were discovering, which I was not expecting.
No.
Sequence breaking, for those who do not know, basically saying the devs probably intended this route, but we're getting things out of order.
Yeah, and they're in this game, which is kind of cool. Nice homage. Homage. I don't think you mentioned this yet. The music was, I guess, kind of subpar. Nothing really stuck out to me in the music, which maybe is disappointing. If I were to knock it on something else too, but didn't really bother me too much. I still enjoyed my playthrough.
All right, well, what do you think?
I do not see myself coming back to finish this game. I really, really tried to like this game. Zach told me on, I think 2 occasions, I didn't think I'd see you playing this game again. Because I largely played this game with him in the audience. And I liked Fusion. I enjoyed playing it as a kid when I was bad at video games and I never finished it. And then I went back in college and finished it on an emulator. And I would say I definitely enjoyed that game. I enjoyed some parts of this game. There was one boss fight that I felt was fun and rewarding to play. And then when I stopped playing this game was after spending a couple hours on a boss fight, and I had a great deal to say about that particular boss fight that I think is a lot more detail than this podcast needs to go into. But I would not say that the majority of my memories with this game are positive ones. I
What
would
was it?
give it a,
What,
a 2 out of 5 on my scale, which would be I would only recommend this to someone who is a Metroidvania fetishist.
what is it that you don't like about it again? You said you don't like it. What is it exactly? Or just, I guess,
I
not
liked
exactly
some
in summary.
parts of it. I didn't like the part where I was quitting in frustration. That was not fun.
Okay, so you got stuck and you didn't think it was like you didn't think it was, I don't know, fair or a
Yeah,
fun
I had a
grind.
lot of gripes with a particular boss fight, which is where I quit the game.
Okay. Oh, it's totally fair. I respect that. I'm just curious exactly what it was. I remember some frustrating boss fights as well, but I guess this is just comes down to what kind of person you are. I would gladly grind one boss for like hours on end if it meant that there's an end game to it. Like this goes back to me wanting to play Guitar Hero and wanting to beat through the Fire and the Flames for like years, and I'd play through that one song over and over again, and I never got bored of it. So if you don't like that kind of
I
boss
mean,
grind,
if you want to get into the details of it, I can, to a certain extent. It's been a few months, and the pain has subsided over those months, which makes me feel better about life in general.
That's good.
But yeah, I mean, I spent 2 hours fighting this boss, and like every go of it, I might get a little bit further, might not get a little bit further, or I might see a new move, a new area where I was not able to be on the screen. Um, and like there was no indication to me how far I was. So after spending these hours on this boss fight and being like super frustrated, I didn't know if I was halfway through beating the boss, almost there, not even close.
you want like a health
And
bar.
like if there's no indication, like if I have, if I'm playing Doom, which has some very notoriously difficult boss fights, and that's a game that I really enjoy a lot. They show you how close you are to beating this boss by like the thing looks like it's half dead. There's like flesh has been blown off of its bones and stuff. And so I'm like, oh yeah, I'm getting real close to beating this sucker. I didn't there wasn't that kind of feedback for the boss fight that I was in.
I can
Is
agree
And
with
but
is there any kind of like difficulty modifier you could change?
There's normal
no.
and there's hard. That's it.
Ah,
Oh, well, then I was definitely playing a normal.
Yes. You have
You
to
have to
beat
beat
the
on
game on
normal
normal
to
to
hard.
unlock hard.
okay.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I agree on that point. It gives you an indication of how far you're on a boss fight, and that frustrated me a lot on the last boss. Actually, I got some similar frustrations where I'm like, this will never end. So I understand that frustration.
As a point though, for me having played pretty much all the games, and then Nick and Will kind of less so, I would say for anyone who is not very into Metroidvanias, I would agree with Will. I'm not sure that this might be something you'll enjoy. This game is pretty difficult. The only one that kind of comes to mind on a similar level of difficulty is the same. Is it Mercury Stream or Mercury Steam or Mercury something that made this game? Something with an S. But they did Samus Returns, which is the game that had come out before this, which was a remake of 2, Metroid 2. Equally difficult, and I think, to my taste at least, I thought most of the bosses were choreographed pretty well. But yes, if you like Metroid games, you'll probably like this. If you like Metroidvanias, you'll probably like this. If this is your first venture, I don't know. Maybe I don't think there's a demo, but maybe watch a little bit of gameplay and see if that gives you an idea. But just be aware, especially with the Emmys, you will die quite a bit. So you do need to do some like Dark Souls learning of fights. Spoiler warning, we're going to be talking about stuff that happens at the end of the game here. Please click ahead if you do not wish to hear any spoilers for Metroid Dread. Jump ahead to the time listed here now. I lost my damn mind when Samus spoke in this game. As a long-term Metroid fan, I squealed. I
Excitement or
nerded out
frustration?
in excitement. It
Okay.
was so cool, especially because she spoke Chozo.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet.
That was so neat. Traditionally, Samus speaking doesn't go over very well.
No.
Other M, case in point. But just a simple line, I will do this, dude. I forget what she said exactly. But just like, I'll handle it. Don't worry about it. I can do what needs to be done. It was just so cool, so badass. And Ravenbeak is an amazing boss fight, and I love it so much. The fact that A, it's a Chozo when we thought they were all dead. B, he's like Samus's pseudo biological father is crazy. And then, oh my god, like you, Nick, for that fight, it has 3 distinct phases. But like the first time I got to the second phase, I was like, okay, this is probably it. And then like it kept going. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, same. I remember looking at the clock. It was like midnight. I was like, I was an hour into this fight, and like, I think I can do it. And then an hour passed. I'm like, it's 1 a.m. I think I'm getting farther and farther. At this rate, it's got to end sometime.
Mm-hmm.
And it ended at like 1 in the morning for me. And I was like, that was the best experience I've had playing a boss.
Freaking crazy and brutal. Oh my god, he just like kicks the shit out of you. Like his 3-hit combo, you just like feel every punch. It's like, oh my god.
It made me feel like when I started it, it would be impossible. Like, this is a joke. I cannot do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's more that it made me feel like by the end that I am a master at this game. It made me feel really good at the game, even though I know I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the difficulty of the boss at the end, it was rewarding.
And just gotta say, transition to the third phase when he sprouts the wings. Samus literally blows off one of his wings. He lands on the ground, stares at the other wing, is like, this doesn't work, rips it off. Yeah. Are you kidding me? What a fucking badass move.
Yeah, it's a very good fight.
I love that so much.
I have another friend who played through the whole game until that fight and stopped because he just got frustrated. So it's a hard game.
It's hard, yeah. The first part in particular, because it's not like you have knowing to duck and then landing that counter. That took me a while to get. But I don't know. I love that fight so much. That's probably like one of my favorite Metroid fights, if not my favorite ever. That was so cool. Anyway, thing number 3 will be pretty quick, but it's nice when I don't have to choose between 2 games, and I can just kind of lump them all into one. Case in point, Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury. Probably my favorite Mario game ever. Actually, my favorite Mario game ever. Not even a probably. Easily my favorite Mario game ever. If I had to choose between the 2 of them, that's kind of a hard call. Because Super Mario 3D World was my favorite game ever for Mario. Bowser's Fury is like a perfect blend of kind of the movement of 3D World mixed in with some Odyssey like exploration elements. Yeah. And I think it works super well. Like they could easily flesh that out into the next game. I don't know if I really have a lot else to say besides is good. The Mario formula of like having stages, but also kind of having the 3D exploration, like not New Super Mario Bros. Or like the original 1, 2, or 3. That hybrid of 3D world is just really fun. Playing it with multiple people is chaotic and fun. I love that you can play as different characters and they all have their strengths and weaknesses. I typically play Rosalina just because she's kind of broken. The extra jump with the spin attack's great, but having Toad's speed or Peach's glide or Luigi's extra jump height adds some nice fun diversity. They did make it a little bit simpler in the sense that the original Wii U version, if you died with a green star, which are just the collectibles kind of scattered throughout the levels, you had to go collect it again. This game is more forgiving, where if you get it once, you're good, which I really have an opinion on. I just thought it was worth mentioning as a change, but pretty much everything else is kept the same. I don't think there were really any other major differences or inclusions. They just wanted to add something to Bowser's Fury, and since they kind of took the movement of this game as a base for Bowser's Fury, it seemed natural that they put the 2 of them together. Bowser's Fury is a delightful delightful. Just
I don't know what to
fun
call
game.
it. It's
just
like
fun.
it's like a tease. I know, but like, can you call it a game? It's not a game.
It's not very long. It is not very long.
No, I feel like I want to call it like it's like a flight. Like you know, when you
Like
go like a bar,
yes, a Mario
brewery, it's like a flight of
sampling.
yeah, it's a
sampler.
sampling of what Nintendo's like just playing. Like they're just play testing something, and it's really good.
And it works.
Makes you excited for the full game. It works well.
Please make it. Did you ever finish this one, Nick?
I got pretty far on Bowser's Fury, and I just said how tiny it was, and the fact that I didn't play it just speaks to how I can't finish games. Period. It was very fun though. I liked it. I did not finish Bowser's Fury. I played through all of the actual Super Mario 3D world, and enjoyed it. I didn't get all the stars. I didn't get the special world, but like I played through the main story and enjoyed it because I didn't get to do that on the Wii U version because I didn't have a Wii U.
We did play this one, I think, in college a
did.
couple of times.
We played it in college, and so I probably played half of it there, but I got to experience the whole thing by myself here,
Right.
and it was a really good game. I didn't hold Super Mario 3D World in the same regard as you did. Like you loved that game. I definitely liked it.
But here's something I know we can agree on: the music.
Yes! Oh, the music! Oh, I love this. Sunshine? No, what is it? Shoals?
Super Bell Hill with the saxophone.
Super Bell Hill, yes. Mixing it up with another Mario song. Yeah,
If you guys
as soon as you
haven't heard
mentioned
it.
this song, the song came through my head.
It's
I don't
a
know if we can
banger.
play it or we'd get DMCA'd, but it's very
Yeah, I
good.
don't know how that works. Hopefully, I can. I don't know. We'll figure
It's a
something
good
out.
song. It's very
If I can't, just look it up because it's good. And Bowser's Fury's got good jams too. And easily could recommend this to anyone, unless you just don't like platformers. In which
Sure.
case, no. But it's not overly difficult, but there is some challenge to it, especially in 3D World. Like late 3D World has some hard levels. The frickin' revisit of like the piranha plant jungle is a pain incarnate. That level sucks. But I don't think I've actually ever beaten Champions Road. I've probably dumped a number of hours into it, and I just haven't gotten to it. Maybe I'll actually do it on this one, but I just had other things to play. Didn't have the time. It'd be easier with more people too, for sure. Having people to spawn off of helps. But seriously, like if you like any type of Mario game, if not just for Bowser's Fury, I would say pick this up. You could probably take or leave 3D World, but Bowser's Fury is very fun.
Is Bowser's Fury also a multiplayer game?
It is up to 2-player, albeit you
But
don't
not the-
play as like another. You play as Bowser Jr. and it's kind of a different control scheme.
Ah.
I think Nick and I did a little bit of that.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you remember of it? I remember it kind of. It wasn't really. I don't think it'd be a fun playthrough with 2 players completely. You already played through the whole game, so you were just kind of like there to assist me. But
And you also can't die as Bowser Jr., so
have you played Super Mario Galaxy, Ryan? I don't. Do you remember playing that? Ever play that one?
Think I did, but I don't
In
think
that-
I finished it.
In that one, you can like point and click at stars and move stuff. In Super Mario Odyssey, you can like play as the hat as second player. It's kind of the same vein as that.
Okay.
Or like Super Mario 3D World is like a game that you can play with 2 players and each person gets to play as a full character. So that's
Yeah.
that's definitely where you're going to get your bang for your buck in multiplayer.
Yeah.
But yeah. And again, Bowser's Fury, short enough where if you have multiple people in the same household, you can breeze through it and just start a new game, and then the other person can play it. So, but enjoy it while it lasts, because it is just a sampling, as we've been mentioning.
Yes.
But it's good. It's my favorite Mario game, hands down, no contest whatsoever. Sorry, Mario Bros. 3.
Super Mario Bros. 2.
Super Mario Bros. 2. I don't know if Mario Maker counts, because that game's also pretty fun, but not on the list. All right. We got 2 left. And I don't think either of these are a surprise to anyone, but maybe the top will be. We'll see. In the number 2 spot, we have Phasmophobia, the Ghost Hunter game of Ghost Hunter games. Is it scary? Can be. It starts to lose a little bit of that edge the more familiar you get with it. Is it addictive? Very much so. Put way too much time into this game with a bunch of different people. Is it accessible? For the most part. Is it cause for shenanigans? Yes, absolutely. It's a lot of things. And it's weird to me. I didn't think we would play this as long as we did. And I'm not really sure where the addictiveness comes from. It's just kind of like you do the prep, you get to kind of prepare your team. People just kind of self-assign roles, figure out what they want to do, and then it's like solving a puzzle. Figure out where the ghost is and what it's doing. And I'm glad that this one is getting so much attention from the people that make it, and they're adding more stuff to it, and they broaden their team to continue that process, because everything that's kind of come out recently has been pretty good. A lot of the new ghosts, the maps, the additions. I'm very excited for the future that this game has, and hopefully going to get more time out of it. And I know for sure that this is one that we've all played, so I'm very interested to hear all your opinions.
Well, I've played the next most of this game, um, and it's fun. It's a fun way to pass time with four people. I don't think I'll rate it as highly as Zach has, but we got pretty good at this game pretty quick. We might have. I think I might have played a little more than my fair share of this game. So I definitely needed a tolerance break for a while. So we became intimately familiar with every aspect of the game mechanics and every map. Um, but it's a pretty good game, and the development has only increased since we started playing it. We definitely noticed a difference when the developer hired a second person. Uh, so this game's got a lot of legs ahead of it.
When we first started playing this game, I was surprised at how much, like, Zach, you and Will have played.
Yes, I second that.
I don't know where like the replayability part of it comes from. It seems to me, I wouldn't say it's a scary game.
Hmm.
Like, I die a lot when I play, and it's never like a scary death. It always kind of feels like, okay, yeah, now I'm dead. The only time that I have felt creeped out is in like the school gym area where it's just dark and it's big and you like don't know what's in there. That part feels really creepy. But um, I guess maybe part of it for me is that I don't know the game as well as you guys. Like normally you guys tell me what to do. So that could be it. Maybe if I learned more on my own, the replayability could be higher.
I'm right on board with you, Ryan, because I was thinking the same thing, the exact same thing. I don't know how you guys play it this much, and every time I play it, I'm like, gosh, Zach and Will know this game real well. It's like, all right, you grab this, you grab this. I know to go here. We make fun of this one video of someone speedrunning it where they just say like, show us, show us, show us. I almost felt like
Hilarious.
that was you guys at the end of you can just go in a room and be like, all right, it's not here. I know it's here. I know it's here. So yeah, I enjoyed the game as well. Like it's a super cool idea. I really hope it keeps getting developed, and it sounds like it is.
Yeah, is this a game that you play by yourself at all?
I have. I don't frequently do that. I would say it's like
Okay.
maybe 5% of the time that I have played the game, or less. Um, and the only time I think I did that was like a new patch came out. Like I just jump on because I get excited and want to check things out. Um, and then once or twice I did like, I want to do a solo run of like this map and get it done perfectly. Just for kicks and giggles and my own edification. But usually it's as a group. It's just been a good excuse to hang out with people.
It
Yeah,
definitely-
that's where I see some of the playing it as like with other people in a group
Mhm.
is fun.
Yeah, I can't think of another game that's as just easy to hop on and play with a group than this one. That's not like super intense or a long commitment. Like you can hop in and do a hunt that what they're called? Hunts.
Yep. Or
Hunts. Nope.
no, I got. What does he say when you? Welcome back. I've got some new jobs for you.
Jobs.
Contracts for you.
Jobs.
Hunt is what
Oh,
the
I
ghost
see.
does.
Yeah, that's true. Some jobs, but
Got some new jobs for
The
you.
interactivity is also nice.
Hmm.
Being able to talk,
Mm-hmm.
have it respond that's a cool part of it.
well, it's unique to this game.
Yeah.
But I like that feature. And the fact that it used mics in a fun way, like you hear each other get distant as you walk away. I'm sure there are plenty of games that do that, but this one does a good job at it.
All right. The one remaining game this year's game of the year for me, with very little contest, even with a lot of the bangers that were on this list, is Control. Control is a third-person adventure shooter style game that is probably the closest thing we might ever get to what if SCP actually had like a big budget video game. And not necessarily that it has creepy monsters or anything, but it takes place in the Federal Bureau of Control, which is a special building, a secret government organization that catalogs all of these strange objects that have anomalous properties. You get to play as Jessie Faden, who is searching for her brother and finds herself stumbling into the Federal Bureau of Control, where she very quickly ascends to the rank of director and starts to discover that the place is on lockdown. It's being attacked by some paranormal entity, and you just kind of go from there. Control is, in terms of gameplay, super satisfying. Like if I could think of like a power that I'd want to have out of video games, I think like just being able to manipulate stuff with my mind the way that you do in this game is so cool. You start with just a gun, and while that gun will eventually kind of take on new forms and give you different ways to attack, everything else that you do is based around like paranatural abilities. The first one that you get is literally being able to pick shit up, so I guess just telekinesis, and fling it. It is never, throughout the 50 hours I played this game, never got tired of that. It's just so cool to literally like rip something off of the wall and chuck it at a guy that is charging you, and then continue on with combat. I love absolutely everything about the combat for this game. It really is just super fun. The only thing, and I did actually kind of step away from this game just briefly, is I think that some of the bosses, they're maybe just made available to you a little too soon. My advice would be, if you get stuck on a side mission boss, leave it and come back later. It'll be easier later. You're not always adequately prepared in terms of some of your health and stats and your DPS for some of the challenges. But if you're following the main story, you won't really have issues. That said, a lot of the bosses are pretty cool. There's not too many of them, and again, most of them actually come in side missions instead of story missions. But this game just oozes atmosphere, and I love every little bit about it. I'm a huge kind of like sci-fi nerd nut, and like SCP has always been up my wheelhouse, so that this game just it hits all the right notes for me. The story isn't like anything too crazy, or it's not like anything that's gonna like win an Oscar for best writing, but it's good enough. And the DLCs that come with the Ultimate Edition were both pretty good too. It's a little bit horror light, I would say. There's definitely some creatures in here, and just like the general tone does feel very oppressive at times. One of the DLCs in particular definitely kind of starts to dip into the spookier end of things for sure. But yeah, could not say enough about just how fun this game is to play, the world is to explore, and kind of get lost in immersing yourself into it, which the game also gives you ample opportunity to do. There's a lot of pickups of documents and videos to watch and things like that, and that maybe will get annoying at times just because there are a lot of them, so to read through all of them might kind of get tedious. You might just want to like pick something up and come back to it later so you don't break up your gameplay too much. But yeah, The last part that I want to talk about, I will have to save for later. So, Will, what were your thoughts?
I love this game. I just looked up the hours. I got 30 hours in this game. You've got 56 hours in this game. I was able to avoid the areas of the game that did frustrate me, which were very few. There's maybe one boss fight that I spent some time on and then just bailed on. But it was a side mission boss fight. It was not too difficult. I know I had an easier time with it than you because I took a different upgrade path. I loved the I don't think you didn't explicitly tell me that it was SCP like, and I picked up on it immediately. It's like, this is awesome. I remember just like the first couple minutes of playing the game, I'm like looking around this like lobby area that you never come to. I'm like, something's going on here. I like this. And then it starts throwing some like anomalies at you, and you're like, yeah, something's going on. I like that. It was a lot more than I expected from like an indie company I'd never heard of. I don't know if they're really indie, but I was blown away by the quality of the product I was playing. The story, I agree with you. It's not like super compelling, but it did the job, and I was much more interested in the bureau than I was in the story. And I loved exploring the new areas and where they kept the artifacts and how they were experimenting on them. I love the whole paranormal bureaucracy aesthetic, and it's not done enough. I want more paranormal bureaucracies
It reminds me a
in
bit of Loki, right?
television and games. Yeah. I I said that like that was one of the reasons why I loved Loki is because it has this like paranormal bureaucracy. It's like I love that shit. It's like, oh, rows and rows of classified files about I don't know time nonsense superhero shit. I love that stuff. Um, I love like this like the mundanity of that they apply to this bizarre materials and anomalies and stuff. Loved it. So the rest of the gameplay is pretty good. I've spoken a lot about the universe and the aesthetic, and the setting of the game, which I think stands out head and shoulders above the rest. But throwing chunks of concrete did not get old. I thought it would get old, but it really didn't. The gunplay was sufficient, and the varietal of enemies was pretty good. The DLCs were very good. I think I got them as part of the bundle that I might have gotten this game for free
I did.
or for
For
very
free
cheap.
I got it for free at on what is that?
Epic had it for free, but it did not come with the DLC. I think
Oh.
we got it on sale on Steam.
I see.
Yeah, I think I got it on whatever price this game is extraordinarily reasonable. This is one of those games that you could buy full price and leave with enough memories that you'd say, yeah, it was worth it. The DLCs as well. There's a really cool DLC moment that I think is different from the DLC moments that Zach super appreciated. I'm not gonna spoil it,
We'll save it for
but
the
man,
bonus section.
I thought that stuff was dope. I loved it.
Ryan, you've watched this game the full way through, yes?
I have. I watched someone play, and so I cannot speak to the gameplay or strategizing, skill tree, or whatever it is. Honestly, I skipped through that part whenever he was like doing that stuff. But as you guys have said, the like overall story isn't as like compelling. It kind of just like does the job. But for me, the just like little details sprinkled out throughout were just like really interesting. I loved the folders you had to pick up to read about like what was happening to get like the full picture. Obviously, watching it, someone was reading it to me, so I wasn't reading it, which is great.
That's
I
nice.
need that. I need that for when I play.
But yeah, I loved that part of it. I thought it was so cool just to hear it. And then you like piece things together because you'll pick up a folder at one point and you maybe go to another area and you come back and and then you pick up another folder and you like, oh, and then like in the world you like go further and then you come across something, you're like, oh hey, I know what that is. So that was really cool. Just the environment destruction also seemed really satisfying. Also, one part that I thought was that I appreciated was when you walked into a new area, just like the words like popped up on the screen, like you're in like this area. It just felt like so heavy. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, that is quite neat. Yeah, it's always in the super bold text, and it has like that, just like that stinger sound effect every time.
Yeah. Yeah. So I enjoyed watching it. Thought the characters were all kind of fun.
I like Darling. He's fun.
Yeah, he is pretty good. A lot the in-game media was really good.
Definitely.
Though the world building, excellent. I go hard for good world building.
Well, does it make you want to finish the game, Nick?
Yeah, this is the game I mentioned earlier when I was like, I could play Subnautica, but there's another game I played. Is it kind of? I know it's different game, but also similar genre of horror. Yeah, I have a funny story about this one because I took a week off of work. I mean, sorry, I switched jobs this year, and I took a week off between my last job and this job. And there was one day when I'm like, I want to play video games, and I played a bunch of other games until it got to like midnight, and I started playing Control. I'm like, oh yeah, I have Control. I knew it was a scary game, so I shut my windows, like I closed my windows, turned off all the lights, and like blasted the music. And it got to like, I don't know, maybe an hour into the game when things were real getting creepy, and it was late, and I was getting so so scared, I just had to stop, and I'm like, this is too late for me. I need to come back to this when I'm not so invested in it. I think it was just like super tired, and I just made myself try to play the game. It was a super fun game, and I'm gonna try it again. I downloaded another game that I played instead that week, but all hearing you talk about it and everyone talk about it, and I need to play it now. Like it's gonna be up there. The one thing I was gonna say is I don't really remember. Like I remember, yes, I got the gun in the game, and I remember kind of being frustrated with the gunplay. But I know you tell me that later on you get, like you get magical ability, force abilities or whatever, and that changes the combat a lot. So I know it won't be a game when I'm just gonna be running and gunning, which is gonna be nice because I don't know if I could do that in this game, at least from what I remember. So I'm looking forward to the combat.
Yeah, you can take cover in this game, but it's definitely not something that's like I would say like a tactical shooter where you want to sit down and do that a lot. I think, and I watched Will kind of play through the game too. There was definitely like a defining moment where you get into this encounter, and it's like if you have been just like kind of ducking behind things and like trying to take things slow, it starts very quickly not working.
Yeah.
And just because of like some of the abilities that you start to get, the game kind of pushes you more towards, all right, you are going to just be the aggressor. You are going to be active and like only really retreat when you need to kind of take some time to recover.
Which is funny because every time I play a game, I'm like super aggro. I hate strategizing and going slow. I just want to run and shoot. So you'd think that would be good for me, but I probably just stopped early.
Yeah.
No, I'm excited to play it.
Hey guys, Future Zach here jumping in. This is a spoiler warning for the rest of Control. Please, if you have any intention whatsoever of playing this game, drop out now, jump ahead to the time I have marked here on the video. You do not want to spoil this for yourself. You got 5 more seconds. Okay, here we go. So, I was kind of underwhelmed with...
Am I right about what scene it is before we get to it?
I don't... Well, what scene? The DLC scene? Like what we're talking about right now?
No. Not the DLC. It's in the standard game.
It's in the standard game. And I don't remember. Did you tell me?
Is it... I'll send you a DM.
We're doing so much suspense for this.
Is it?
I know, just come on, tell me already.
So here's the thing. This game... It is. This
Yeah.
game doesn't have a lot of music. There's some, like, ambiance for sure. And then, like, when you get into an encounter, it kind of picks up. But it's very simple. It's not like there's really too much of a soundtrack. It's just kind of, like, more an aggressive beat. And I
You're
was
not gonna look for the 12-hour Control soundtrack to listen to while you're working.
right. Um, and I was kind of bummed by that because I was like, it'd be nice every once in a while. I mean, it adds to the atmosphere, but every once in a while, it would be nice to have like a banger. But the ashtray maze, just
Man,
it's such a difference because like she walks in, she puts on the headphones that she gets from Ati, and then old gods of Asgard just like come ripping in. That scene is so good. It's like probably one of my favorite things from a video game ever.
it's it's very comparable to a particular level in anyone who's played Titanfall 2 will know exactly what I'm talking about. And it was the exact same like level of intensity and emotion and like memorability. There's a sequence in Titanfall 2 that's just like this. Not exactly like this gameplay wise, but in a more metaphorical sense. And that's why I keep trying to get all my friends to play Titanfall 2. I'm like, it's worth the money at any price for the single player campaign. I mean, it's worth it for more than just that sequence. You know, it's a 5 out of 5. But if you played Titanfall 2 and you know exactly what I'm talking about, then this game has that as well.
It's great. It's Doctor Strange and rock and roll and fun, and it's not too difficult, which is good because like you wouldn't want to die there, and like that would probably really kill the immersion if you have. But just like Jessie walks out at the end, she's like, "That was awesome." It was like, "Yeah, it was. Hell yeah, let's do that." And I'm so glad in the DLC they let you replay that bit. It's great. That blew my mind.
It doesn't overstay its welcome, and I think that like you leave it saying, "I want more." You want more of that, but the fact that they don't give it to you, totally fine, worth it. So like it just makes it that much more special of an experience.
What's wild is they go one step beyond, because if you listen to Take Control, and the full song isn't in there, at least I don't think it is. I think it's like a shortened version of it that kind of like advances as you advance through the maze. It's a hint for a puzzle in the DLC. There are parts of the song that you need to play backwards, like they're just like talking backwards, like really subdued in the background. And that's a clue for a puzzle later in the game, like a really well hidden puzzle that like gets you a pretty good ability. Like not anything that you need, and it wouldn't be the end of the world if you missed. But like this was buried so deep. I was like, who thinks to do this? This is nuts. Like
How
people
did you
on the
find that?
I looked it up. I like found an area and you just like there's a clock and like there's a radio nearby playing the song. I was like, that's got to be related somehow, probably. And I had no idea, but like you play it backwards and it just like gives you numbers and the clock is moving and you just need to like hit the action button when it's on those numbers. It's wild. This game
cool.
actually had quite a few well hidden secrets. Like old school, well hidden secrets. But yeah. Did you say you had a DLC moment in particular, Well?
Yeah, I loved the whole like lunar lander thing, all the moon stuff. You walk into this hangar and they have like the entire like Apollo 11 like lunar area that they transported back to Earth with the lunar lander and like all the moon rocks and dust, and the like they picked up an extra guy along the way and they have him in like a prison. Oh my, it was simultaneously hilarious and so like fascinating. It's like part of the universe. Like of course the Bureau had something to do with it, you know? I can't even remember. Did they fake? They didn't fake the moon landing itself. They just like covered up all sorts of aspects of it.
Yeah, I think it's closer to that, but it's also funny to think that because it's like, you know, a huge conspiracy back in the day. It's like we never made it to the moon. It's like, I mean, we did. We just happened to bring someone back with us. Oops.
I did really enjoy that part of it, mostly for just the character there.
Yeah, he's like speaking to you cryptically, and he's like, he needs his head.
The top head.
The top head. Give me my head. The other DLC moment that I really liked, the camera, the side mission, Jesse Faden starring in Swift Platform or something.
Yeah,
And it's just like
that
a
was
movie
really good.
scene. It's got the saxophone solo. Good shit. Great game. I'm hoping that I'm probably gonna have to go back and say this again because I don't know if I did, but like seriously, if you're here and you just spoiled this for yourself, shame on you. I'm angry at you because you denied yourself quite the experience. So hopefully no one's in that scenario. But
Zach, you're the king of spoiling things for yourself.
I didn't spoil this game for myself though. I'm so proud.
Yeah, this is the one thing you don't spoil for yourself.
And it was so good. I'm so glad I
Let
didn't.
me tell you a story.
No.
It's me and the boys. We're watching Game of Thrones,
We don't have
episode by
time for
episode
this.
together.
Oh my god.
This
How
cocksucker
dare you.
starts watching on his own. Season 3. A certain wedding happens.
Uh-huh.
Motherfucker.
I don't think
Already
I was,
seen
I
the
don't think I
games
was
that he
that far
watches
ahead
on
at that
YouTube.
point.
Yeah, but
You
you had
were a
just
solid
seen
4
that
episodes ahead.
scene.
Yeah. It doesn't matter how far or not far you are ahead of us.
I mean, I had read the book, so I knew it was coming.
No, I mean, I don't think I
But-
had... I think that's like before I started
it's
watching
just-
ahead. This is all
You
unrelated.
literally
video
had
games.
to have been watching your ahead.
This is not the roast of Zachary
I want
Price.
the record to say that you're an absolute motherfucker for spoiling shit for yourself.
I'm getting attacked. I don't like this. It's nonsense. I'm bad at spoiling this. I did not spoil this for myself, and it was great. So don't. Hopefully, no one's in that boat. Anyway, that's it for my list. But we got more to come here. We're gonna talk about what these boys really like this year. Kicking it off, Nick, you're going first.
Oh gosh, the pressure. Okay, well, I already said my favorite game was Metroid Dread, but I got to relive the beauty of Toby Fox this year with Deltarune Chapter 2. And I was a huge Undertale fan. Zach actually showed it to me in college and watched me, I think, play the whole thing, which is kind of a fun trip. It's been a while since I played Undertale. I don't think I played Deltarune Chapter 1, but playing through Chapter 2 was very fun. I laughed a lot, and I enjoyed all the music a lot. I listened to the soundtrack a lot. So it was a good game. It's worth the price of admission. It's free. So, like, there's nothing really holding me back from trying it, I guess. I like that Toby Fox is trying to do something else instead of remake Undertale. I know, Zach, you've said the combat kind of threw you off and didn't make you play it. I get that. The combat of the original Undertale was really fun, and this isn't quite the same thing. But it was enough of the same thing for me to enjoy it. So I had Deltarune Chapter 2 up there as one of my top games. And then my last one I'll talk about, which I'm pretty sure no one else will hear will talk about, is Spider-Man on the PlayStation 4.
Oh.
My brother-in-law came over for a weekend. Actually, we played through this whole game in 2 weekends. He brought his PS4, and we just, like, stayed up super late playing it for 2 weekends. And that was kind of fun. I wouldn't call it, like, top 5 games of the year. But in terms of just a really fluid and pretty looking game, and really surprisingly good story, like how many times do you want to hear Spider-Man, especially now when it's just like saturation crazy. It was good. I liked it. Really, there's a really good skill tree involved, cool abilities you can unlock, fluid gameplay. Swinging through the city is wild. I kept stopping and kept telling him, like, do you realize how long it took these developers to painstakingly draw out every one of these buildings we're swinging through? Because that city is huge, and like it is kind of in depth, and you can swing through like a lot of New York in very high quality. So it was impressive. Just kind of a good eye candy. Nice. Didn't have to think too much. I played it on like a medium difficulty, but still made you feel pretty badass doing some cool combos.
Did it make you feel like you were Spider-Man?
Oh yeah. It was. I tried to embody the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man by constantly wanting pizza time, and you can actually wear his Spider-Man costume, which is kind of cool.
His pizza outfit?
No, not the pizza one. That would have been cool. I don't think you can do his pizza one. I don't know. They do a lot of fan service in that game by giving you like, no matter what kind of Spider-Man you want, even like Into the Spider-Verse Spider-Man, you can like equip his Into the Spider-Verse outfit, and everything kind of like slows down the frame rate to like 24 frames a second, like the movie does. It's the attention to detail is pretty cool. So yeah, that's my list. Figured I'd talk about that one because I don't think anyone else here.
Delta and I
had those
hope
two.
to play this coming year for sure. It just got lost in the weeds. There's a lot of stuff going on in terms of games towards the end of the year. I wanted to
Is
Yeah,
that a
and
game
I-
that's available outside of the PlayStation? Because I know Sony has at least a certain
Spider-Man?
fraction of the rights to Spider-Man.
I don't think you can play Spider-Man that's not on PlayStation. I think it's a PlayStation exclusive. Like
Sounds
I'm
right.
90% sure on that, which is kind of unfortunate.
And
and then
about the exclusive rights, Spider-Man.
no, it's fun.
How's the old PlayStation emulator scene coming along these days?
I'm sure you could find out. I'd be curious to hear it. I don't know if you'd like it, Will, because I know what kind of games you like. But I mean, if you can get it running, it's worth a shot. I thought it was worth a shot. Yeah, and then for Zach, in terms of Deltarune, I don't think, if you didn't like the first one, I wouldn't keep your hopes up too high on this one. But it took me probably like 6 or 7 hours to play through the whole game. So if there's anything, there's that. Like it won't be committing a whole lot of time if you just wanted to play through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Of course, there's tons of Easter eggs in there if you really dive in deep and you look at all the different routes you can do, because there's still different routes you can do in the game, depending on levels of pacifism and such.
Well, that's back
Again,
for chapter 2.
Wow, now I'm even second guessing myself. There might not be a straight up pacifist route, but like you play as different unlike Undertale, you have your kind of RPG style party, and you have 4 of you. And there's at least, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's one character who, if you do a certain action with the entire time, there's a very deep, dark, and depressing storyline that you can end up playing through, and it's very kind of chilling to to watch videos on and look at the lore behind it. Yeah, I'll just say that.
Good to know.
Also, the ending of the normal story like left me in shock. I thought I was playing a lighthearted game. It's not a lighthearted game. it's very dark. So, yeah.
Doesn't Spider-Man's story begin with his parents dying?
I'm jumping back and forth. This is my fault. I was talking about Deltarune there, Will, not Spider-Man.
My bad,
Spider-Man's
my bad.
very
You're
expected.
right.
No. I jumped back and forth like a bunch of times. I'm talking about Deltarune being dark. Spider-Man is kind of Spider-Man. I don't think the story didn't like floor me at all. You've seen Spider-Man before. Yeah, that's all. That's my games.
All right, Will.
All right, I have a list of 5 games. So the first one I want to talk about is Horizon Zero Dawn, which I would give a 5 out of 5. Excellent game. Loved it. You fight robot dinosaurs. It's right on the box. You can't look at any art for this game and not see robot dinosaurs. You get to fight them from the start. Shit's awesome. Every robot dinosaur I encountered, I was like, fuck yeah, this is awesome. And after I was finished fighting them, I thought, fuck yeah, that shit was awesome. The story gripped me a lot more than I thought it would. The format of the game is very familiar, if you're familiar with Assassin's Creed likes. Open world, explorer games, get upgrades, do a couple of side quests. The art was really good. The graphics great. You know, if you care about that sort of thing and have the computer to run it. Not the most optimized game, but I had a computer that could play it at my resolution, which is bigger than most. And I loved every moment of it. The DLC was pretty good. You know, worth getting, because you're going to finish the game, you'll be like, God damn, I want more Horizon Zero Dawn right now, as soon as possible. And it delivered. 5 out of 5.
On my
The
list.
next game... Oh, yeah. What do you think?
I watched someone play Horizon Zero Dawn, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" it was so fun to watch. Even like the combat, it's just like so interesting and it's so fun.
Mm-hmm. It's super rewarding. The
I also love
it's
strong female characters, so
oh
also
yeah,
a
yeah,
plus.
yeah. Big plus. The next game is Red Dead Redemption 2,
Mm.
which I haven't finished yet. It's it's a game that rewards people who are patient. It's there are a lot of games that I play like a crack addict. I've been playing Tom Clancy's Wildlands, and that's the game where like as soon as I finish an objective, I'm sprinting towards the next one. To a certain extent, like a lot of the Assassin's Creeds that I played like that. You're on an open world map, and there's something within a couple minutes, or like within a minute of where you are. And if it takes you longer than a minute, you're like, God damn it, why don't I have a helicopter to get me there? Red Dead Redemption 2 is not that game. It's like give it some time, watch the cutscenes, uh, let the world play out in front of you. There's more content that I could be enjoying if I was a more patient person, and I'd be getting more out of the game. But even so, uh, what an extraordinarily well-crafted world and game Red Dead Redemption 2 is. So much content, so much great voice acting. Um, I wish I was a more patient person, and I plan on finishing this game in 2022. Even I think I'm roughly 50 to 75% of the way through the game. I'm honestly kind of there were moments where I'm afraid that I'm playing the game too fast, and I want to drag it out because there was never really a moment in the game where I thought this is frustrating or this is boring or this is otherwise not good. So, Red Dead Redemption 2 so far is shown up to be a 5 out of 5. It released this year. If you have an NVIDIA graphics card that starts with a 20, you can take advantage of the AI upscaling, which is very good. The technology in there is excellent. That technology is also in control, um, and is definitely worth it. Anyone have anything to say about Red Dead Redemption 2?
I might be interested in playing it, but that's about it.
It's not multiplayer, is it?
There is a multiplayer.
But that's not what.
I don't know. I would not be someone to say any. I would not have a valid opinion about it.
Sure.
Game number 3, Insurgency Sandstorm. This is, I think, a wonderful game that I wish I was playing more of. There's a couple of people that I know that like to play it a lot, and I'll try to entice them to play by whenever I see them as a green dot. Or like there were moments this year where I saw them as a green dot in Discord. It's like, I'll fire up Insurgency Sandstorm, see if I can bait some of these suckers into playing some video games with me. I like tactical shooters. Tactical shooters have been kind of my thing for years, and Insurgency Sandstorm delivers. I've been playing Insurgency since it was a mod for Half-Life 2, and it's stayed true to form since then. Yeah, I like playing. I like the. It's got a couple like Call of Duty-ish game modes. Fast respawns, and that's if you want to just blow off some steam for a few minutes, and you don't want to commit to a half-hour, tactical shooter push map style gameplay, then you can do that. Otherwise, it's got the. I really enjoy the PvP. I know a lot of people really enjoy the PvE. It's not really my thing, but it's got that as well. So I would say that's another 5 out of 5 game, just in general. I would give it a very positive endorsement. Then Star Wars Squadrons is the other game I want to talk about. I have a long history with flight simulators. People may not know that about me, but I used to play some very high fidelity flight simulators back when I was younger and I had a lot more time on my hands. Old DCS Black Shark has lots of fond memories. So I like Star Wars. I like flight simulators. So I gave the old Star Wars flight simulator a shot. The thing is I have very high standards for how I play flight simulators, and I was able to. Head tracking is the technology for flight simulators. The technology for flight simulators, where you control the camera in the cockpit with the motion of your head. And the only way when I played Star Wars Squadrons, the only way to get that working was some sort of hack workaround through the VR system. I did try playing it in VR. I have an HTC Vive, but playing games with locomotion in VR is a whole other subject, and it's pretty subpar for the flight simulator experience. There's a reason VR hasn't really taken off in the flight simulator communities. Nowadays, I hear Star Wars Squadrons has real head tracking support, so I'm going to give that another try. But as far as the story was going in the game, I don't think it was all that great. I tried to skip through the cutscenes as quick as possible, but the actual flight stuff and the Star Wars stuff was really sick. So that's why I'm expecting to go back to it this year. Expect if you want to do the real flight simulator head tracking experience, expect to do a little setup on your own. I was using nowadays it's so much easier than it used to be. You can use like just software and a webcam to it'll do like face tracking. Back in my day, let me tell you, I had to make this janky rig out of spare parts and infrared LEDs, and I took apart a webcam and took away the infrared filter and I put on literally it was a piece of undeveloped camera film because it lets infrared go through it, but it absorbs the regular visible spectrum light. So it was the perfect filter. And I put that over the sensor of the webcam so it could see just infrared lights attached to my head. Anyways, that's that's enough of a tangent. Flight simulators are cool, okay? I swear, they're cool. Star Wars Squadrons, good game. 5 out of 5. I don't know. I haven't played it enough to give it a rating, but I would say if you're looking for, it's a 5 out of 5 of all of the Star Wars flight simulators, and that is the end of my games.
I'm amazed Star Wars Squadrons even exists, to be honest. I didn't even realize that it got released. It seemed to go under the radar. Like I didn't see people talking about it in, I guess like the social medias that I was in. It looks sweet. I pulled it up on Steam right now just to like watch some of the trailers and stuff. It looks sweet.
You definitely need. Again, I'm a flight simulator guy at heart. Getting a flight stick and a throttle,
Yeah.
worth buying.
I have to say, I kind of left Valheim off the list because I thought you were going to talk about it.
I thought you were going to talk about Valheim. Yeah, you're right. I didn't have. I wrote that was one of the games I wrote down, but I thought you were going to talk about it. I like Valheim.
I don't like the game. I liked the experience of playing it with you. That was very fun. I especially liked the time where we were on a boat trying to recover all of our gear and like trying to stealth as best as possible, and then those freaking death mosquitoes like managed to catch up to us, and like I think someone swung and broke the boat, and then we were just stranded, and it was a mess. Like the most beautiful mess ever. But yeah,
I had so much fun playing Valheim. Me and Zach played Valheim, and would have invited you guys, but we know you guys don't play video games as often as we do, and so.
Well, to be
It's
fair,
a game that I would have played though.
to be fair, Will played it way more than I did. I came on every time, and he had like a fucking fortress extension built.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
true.
it's a game that isn't it the game that Ryan would enjoy? It sounds like it's Vikings Minecraft. Is that right?
Like
Yeah.
collect stuff and build. That yeah. I watched someone play it, but
I played a lot of that shit. I played. I think I got twice as many hours as Zach.
Easily.
If someone wants to pull up the stats on our Steam profiles,
Uh,
yeah, I had a lot of fun like mining resources and base building and stuff. It was Zach and I played this without having any knowledge of the game. Like we didn't watch any YouTubers play this game and stuff, so everything was a discovery. Up to like 75% of the way through, like we didn't look up anything on the web. We didn't look at the wiki at all, and so everything being a discovery was just wild. And so we played the shit out of this for like a couple weeks. We definitely were bigger into the adventure aspect of the game. We did have a base. It wasn't a very good looking base, but it was very functional. We had like a building with one room. And then I went ham on the defenses. Um, I made like double thick stone walls and stuff to prevent against the troll attacks. But it wasn't like we're not castle builders. And if you've ever seen me play Minecraft, you know I make
Utility builder.
I'm not the I'm a utility builder. I'm a utility builder in Subnautica, utility builder in Valheim. But I would say 4 out of 5. With more content, it could be a 5 out of 5.
It says it's still in early access. So like, well, is it ever gonna go real? Is it ever gonna go full?
It feels like it hasn't gotten an update in a hot minute. I think they just
Okay.
did Hearth and Home, but like that's like the only thing they've done all year.
I expected a lot more content a lot faster. I was expecting to like replay this with the 4 of us
I want
later, or like by now.
Right.
But yeah, we haven't because they haven't added a whole lot since me and Zach dropped it.
Well, if
Bummer.
they do, maybe we should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once it goes.
Yeah,
3 out of 5
I know
for
how to
me
set
if
up
I had to rate
AWS.
it. For AWS?
oh, I know how to I know how to run up instances on AWS.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
you could run like a server yourself on it.
Biggesttown.com will soon be a Valheim server.
Wait, it's like that kind of game where you have to set up your own server to play multiplayer.
Well, I just hosted mine, but if we were gonna have like the bunch of us play it, then I would host it. So like you don't have to rely on
There's
me
no dedicated
being
server. Is what I'm
present.
saying. You don't. Okay.
You can set up a dedicated server, but when me and Zach played, I was the personal server,
Got it. Okay.
and I appreciate that a game has that kind of flexibility.
Oh, for sure. No.
That's dope.
I love that. That brings me back to old Minecraft. I mean, you can still do that in Minecraft.
Yeah. No. I can just play the game and then Steam invite a friend to join me.
Oh,
I don't have to set up a dedicated server with Valheim. I have the option to.
I see what you're saying.
But I
don't know
don't
if you can
have
have.
to.
I don't know if you can Steam invite friends to, or not Steam, Minecraft invite people to your Minecraft server. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. As far as I know, Minecraft lacks this ability, and I feel like that's a. I mean,
Well,
I know they're making money off of their Minecraft server
No.
stuff.
I don't know. I just played Minecraft with Riley as well this year, and I think you can just join a server without having to set up a server. You can just join someone's world as a multiplayer world. So I take that back. I think you can do that now, but you've been for a very
okay.
long time, and it's still not as. It's dead. It's not dedicated.
Again,
Case in point, when Valheim gets big and it's fully released, we should play it 'cause it looks fun.
the only reason it would even be a 3 for me though is the experience playing it. The gameplay wise, I'm not really as sold. I think it has ungodly levels of tedium. Like, you need to basically the stamina system is really quite punishing because you do need to eat a lot of food to even get a stamina bar. And then regen rates kind of start to come into play. Mining is literally, it's just like Minecraft, just like hold down the click button for 20 seconds and then you get an ore. But the combat's fun. The exploration's fun. It's just all of the
Survival
the
side?
acquisition of resources and stuff. It's just like not my cup of tea for that game. But debated putting that on the list just again because there was a lot of shenanigans, like falling off the edge of the world. That was fun.
Yeah, decent amount of shenanigans. It was the first time since like Minecraft, or like when I first played Minecraft, I already knew how to play Minecraft because like that was when YouTube was blowing up with Let's Plays. So I was already familiar with all the things that you happen in the first day of Minecraft. I had no idea what was going to happen on the first day of Valheim, and I felt like I got to experience what it was like to be one of those first Minecraft players before knowing how to play Minecraft.
Oh yeah.
I'll never get to be that young ever again.
Yeah, again. All right, Ryan.
All right. So I will start with a few of the games that I watched someone play, and then I'll talk about a game that I really liked that I played. So I watched someone play Hollow Knight this year, and it was great. It was amazing. I think I chose correctly in watching someone play. I don't think it is a game that I could play. A lot of the combat I don't think I'd be great at, and so I'd get very frustrated. But the person I watched was pretty good, so, and also very thorough in searching areas and getting everything, and all the endings and stuff. So the overall game, I loved. It was adorable and creepy, and the music was great. It was loads of fun. And then another game was Horizon Zero Dawn, which talked about with Will. So you already know how I feel about that. And then God of War came out in 2018 and was just a great game. I got emotional at the end, and it was just so cute and probably not how you would think to describe.
Did you say God of War?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I've heard about this
Yeah.
game. I want to play it sometime, but it's never been on PC as far as I know.
The character development is just heartwarming to me, at least. I really enjoyed the story throughout, and I would say maybe gameplay was like a little bit, like the combat a little bit tedious to watch at times, but overall enjoyed the story, which is what I'm there for anyway. So, and then the game that I played that I really liked this year was Risk of Rain 2.
Yes, I almost put that on mine, and I waited because I knew you'd say it on yours.
Yeah, I mean, it was a game that like surprised me. I didn't think about how much I would love it. And even like playing it by myself, because I play with these guys. So, I mean, when I think about games that I want to play as multiplayer, I think I want games that I can play like with people and not like against them. I like working together. This is definitely kind of one of those games where you like work together, but you know, it's like also kind of very separate. But I love the random chance of items that you can get, the achievements and rewards and the stuff that you like unlock. And then the like balance between like gathering items and a race against the clock. And then the enemies are pretty fun. Just like learning the level and the secrets and all that kind of stuff. So
They're fun until they're not fun, and you hate them.
yeah, it can happen. There's like certain enemies that are just like hate, but
Brass contraption.
oh, those tumbleweeds.
I love Risk of Rain. I think I had fun playing it every time we played too. There's frustrating moments when it ends abruptly and you're like, gosh, it seems like not really fair.
The end level, and then when you die.
Yeah, I die every time we make it to the end. I think we've made it to the end 3 times, and I think I've died every time before we got to the boss. I'll change that, but yeah, it's something about the randomness of it. Something in my brain just gets super endorphins when I'm like, oh, random box, let me hit go, and that's the whole game. You just keep hitting boxes, and you get random abilities, and then you can start formulating some kind of game plan with those random power-ups.
Oh yeah, I
It's
worry
fun.
about myself if I ever like got into gambling or something. I'm like, I love that random chance.
I love the random chance. But like, it makes the game different every time you play it, to some degree. Obviously, you can like, I'm sure when you get good enough, you know how to like get the.
I'm always on the lookout for those red items.
Yeah.
Some of those are just like game changers, and I'm just like, I want them.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I'm, again, not the super biggest fan of roguelikes, but I'm now playing Risk of Rain across 2 different groups. Like, I play with you guys, and then I play with another group of friends. And not saying that, like, we're
trash.
We're trash. Well,
Okay.
I'm not saying we're trash.
Oh.
In any
I
way,
see
shape, or
how
form.
it
It's
is.
just
We
like,
are the
there
worst.
There is such a level of
Not.
detail that this other group, that pause really killed me. The other group of friends that I play with, like, just all this stuff that they're like, they don't know how to unlock all of these things that I was just like, oh my god, there's a lot of nuance
depth.
to abilities and stuff like that, and doing the void fields like every single time just to get items like for free while the clock is stopped, basically, provided you don't bite it. It's like, oh yeah, wow, that's really smart, actually. We never thought of that. So hopefully I'm taking some of what they have, and whenever we play, bringing it to the table. But yeah,
No, there's a
Yeah,
lot of
we
depth
should
to the
definitely
game.
Play more often.
Yeah, show us what you're learning from these gods of this game, Zach.
Yeah. I think it's like a game that, like, again, I will usually be down to play most of the time, but I don't think I would ever be the one to initiate, like, hopping on.
Or play on your own.
Or yeah, definitely not play on my own. I think the fun comes from playing with a team, because then you get, like, diversity in the skill sets and the abilities.
Yeah.
So
Likewise. I'm on Zach's side here.
unless you're Ryan and you just go with the loader, and then it doesn't matter because you're invincible.
He's great. No, she's great.
Huh.
Female.
Yeah, I've gotten the rabbit hole of watching YouTube videos of like the craziest builds or the longest runs or like looking at every single item in the game and how do they rank to each other. And there's a lot to it.
Fun little tidbit.
Side note,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
to amend my comment earlier, by the time this podcast releases, God of War will be available for purchase on PC for $50 on Steam.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Is this a specific God of War? Aren't there multiple?
There's many in the series, but I think the one we're all talking about is the one that I'm talking about.
Is it just
Yeah.
called God of War?
Yeah, they just dropped all the numbers and called
Oh.
it God of War.
Okay.
Yeah. And the second one is coming out very soon.
Mhm.
In like a few days from when we are talking about this.
All right. So because this has already been running a hot minute, we are now going to do a fun little addition. We're going to talk about our least favorite game that we played this year, but I'm going to add the caveat that you only get a minute to do it.
Can I get 2 minutes?
2 minutes?
What's the cut of all the
Yeah.
things I want to talk about? This is all I want to-
All right. Maybe we won't do the minute. All right.
2 minutes.
All right,
Right.
so I'm asking for 2 minutes
Wait.
because I got 2 games.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Ryan.
Wait, mine isn't super long. Could I go first?
Yeah. All right. Ryan, ready to
Talking
go?
about our worst game, right?
Go. Yeah.
Yeah. So I played Gears of War 4. It with my little brother, which is the only reason I got through it. It sucked.
Oh, you
The-
played through the whole thing?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Well, and then we started playing Gears of War 5, which is much better.
Oh, interesting.
But Gears of War 4, it was so boring. The story seemed like so forced. The characters just got super annoying. It was weird. So, that's it. That's all I got.
Note to self. I will not try to just play Gears of War 4 someday.
It
Might as
was
well.
like a random.
I did not expect that at all.
All right, Nick. Ready, set.
Might as well. Super fast. Super Mario Party. I had to look up the name because I can't track the names of Mario Parties anymore. I bought it at full price, and I didn't buy it in person. I bought it digitally, and I tried it in 2020, and I was like, "This game's not fun." And then in 2021, I had like I think we were with a couple people. They didn't play video games, but I'm like, I think this is a fun party Switch game. Like you don't need to know how to play games. And like it just wasn't fun. I don't know what it is. I just don't enjoy it, and I don't think anyone else really enjoys the game when I was playing with them. I don't know. I like. Is it not Gang Beast? What Pummel Party?
Mhm.
Is that what you play instead? There's like
Mhm.
there's a PC funny port of that style game, which I think is more fun than Super Mario Party. So that's all I have to say about that. Worst game of the year.
Good to know. I have my roommates want to buy that, and I'll tell them not to.
I mean, it's like fun for a little bit, but it's not a long party game.
All right, Will. What are your 2?
All right. First off, I did play this year the Battlefield 2042 beta,
Oh,
and what a shit show that was. It was it was an awful gaming experience from like start to finish. The only times I smiled playing this game was like, oh my god, this shit's so bad. Look at all the bugs. A game studio the size of EA and DICE, you don't do a public beta as a real public beta. You do it as a promotional event. You're advertising the game. And when the fact that they thought it was appropriate to do a public beta of the game in the state that it was a clear indication that it was going to be an absolute shit show of a product launch. And anyone who's been paying attention will notice it's been an absolute shit show of a product launch. There's a reason. I mean, I was never going to buy this game after playing the. There's no way this game is going to be good enough for me to purchase after that experience as a public beta.
which is a bummer because it could have been cool. Like at its core, it looked like it would have been a fun game. I like Battlefield games.
I like Battlefield games. 2142 is like one of my favorite games of my childhood. So I was hoping, maybe this
Yeah.
will be almost as good. No,
That's
not
a-
even close. What a miserable state for the Battlefield franchise. Game number 2. I'm not someone who is known for getting particularly angry at games. I don't know, Zach. Would you agree with that statement? You've seen me play a game
Oh,
or
you know,
two.
yeah, you're pretty chill compared to
I
me especially.
I have not thrown down a controller and rage quit a game like I have for Metroid Dread. That was probably one of my least favorite gaming experiences in my history, and definitely makes it for this year. Multiple times I threw down the controller in frustration playing that game and just rage quit
My
Alt
God.
F4 straight out. Would I gave it a 2 out of 5 only because I recognize that there is some degree of quality in this game, and if you get a real big boner for Metroidvanias, you'll like this game. But easily the bottom of video gaming this year was playing Metroid Dread.
Oof.
You know, oof. Just to show that not all games are meant for all people.
Nope.
Look at that.
So I have, I guess I'll technically do 2 as well, but I'm just gonna throw, because one's a caveat. So I really, Square Enix, get your shit together and stop making bad ports. Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix crashes all the time, and I know that they released a big update. I don't know if the game is fixed. I haven't had time to go and play it, but considering that's like one of my favorite games ever, and I can't play it because your software is garbage, fuck you, Square Enix. Get your shit together. It might be playable now. I haven't checked because they did do some patches, but super frustrated with that. But otherwise, and I'm gonna get flack for this, Fire Emblem Heroes is on a pretty big downward trend. They're laughing because this is a game that I regularly do complain about, and at one point I actually did put it down for a while, and I like to make the joke that it's like an abusive relationship that I kept going back to.
Sounds like it.
How many years have you been playing this game?
I was like,
Pretty
you
much
put it
since
down
it came out.
years ago.
A decade.
I put it down for about 3 months, I think. Like, I actually deleted my account, and because I just like, it's not like I had a gambling problem or I was like spending money on it, but it's just something I was playing like a lot of because it's very accessible as a mobile game. And I was like, I don't know if I'm enjoying this, so I'm just gonna get rid of it, and that'll hopefully make me stop playing it. And then I was like, I need something to do while I have like phone time, and I don't have a good other phone game to play, so I'm just gonna re-download it again. I had pretty good highlights this year. Got my first 5-star plus 10 unit, and did decent in PvP, but like they're adding so much garbage to it now, in the movement meta. Power creep it's disgusting. It's horrible. It's awful, and I hate everything about it. I'm actively throwing games in PvP mode so that I stay at lower ranks, so I don't need to deal with garbage. But I am slowing down playing it finally. It's not necessarily something I do for about 30 minutes every day anymore. So huzzah.
This is where you clip this part for next year.
Clip this part, yeah. We'll reference it next year and see where we're at again. We'll check back in. I'll let you guys know.
Check back in.
But yeah. Well, thank you everyone that stuck around. I tried to maybe police this year the time, and I don't think it got any shorter. So maybe next year I'll figure out how to get it to be concise. It's hard, you know, when you want to talk about stuff that you like, and or stuff you're passionate about, I guess, for some games. But I hope everyone had a lot of fun for listening, and I hope that the visuals were interesting this year as a nice change of pace. But here's to 2022, all the fun games that we'll find and play, and I'm sure quite a few of you listening to this, and for the 3 of you that have been on here, we'll be playing a number of them together. So I'm looking forward to what this year has to offer. So thank you so much, Will, Nick, Ryan. Thank you for joining, for talking.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
A
See you guys next year.